Folks, we got a special for you. We got the car tomorrow, today. Come on in, get you one. We're dealing. Trust me, you ain't never seen a car like this. Low mileage? How about no mileage? This baby hadn't run a mile yet. That's all gonna change today. Little baby is fully loaded. Well, I take that back. She's not fully loaded. No AM, FM, no stereo, no air conditioning. Look at that. That gum door won't even open. Moonroof? Who needs a moonroof when you got roof flaps? Miles to the gallon? Hey, with this baby, it's more like gallons to the mile. Look at this baby, car with a wing. Hey, son, this ain't your granddad's car, I can tell you that. Now, I don't know what that thing is, but I want one. Bad credit? No credit? Hey, no problem. My man right here, my finance manager, No Hassle Hammond, he'll take care of everything. You got to get you one of these. Pretty soon, this will be the only car NASCAR runs. What's it gonna take to get you in this car today, huh? Aw, shucks, I can't get you one of these things anyway. The only place you can get one of these cars is right here. NASCAR on Fox.
Would you buy a used car from that man? Your e-ticket has been stamped. Hang on for a ride through Tomorrowland. The new car has arrived, and you're going to be the first to see it. Fox Sports welcomes you to the Roman Coliseum of Racing, Bristol Motor Speedway in the hills of eastern Tennessee. This the 5th race of the season, but the first ever for NASCAR's Car of Tomorrow. How will the best drivers in America take to their new wheels? Well, today you'll have the best seat in the house to find out. We welcome you inside the Hollywood Hotel, ushering in a new car, a couple of old faces.
That was my other brother. That was my other brother, Daryl.
I'm glad you upgraded the jacket just slightly. Daryl Waltrip, Chris Myers, our crew chief Jeff Hammond will join us in a moment. Kind of like mystery theater with what to expect with this car, right?
Well, they've done everything to this car but crash it. And it's supposed to be safer, and I'm sure it is by all the things I know about it. But today we're going to crash test it because that's what Bristol does. You get a lot of bumping, a lot of banging. We're going to see just how tough this car is today.
And which drivers can handle the primary reason for the new car, driver safety, intention also to create competitive balance. Part of the reason that you see that front splitter and a rear wing. Eventual cost containment, that's part of what they want to do. And the new car will be used in 16 races this year. There's talk that maybe it will be used in every race next NASCAR season. And Daryl, the reviews so far, what do you think?
Well, if you're an old school driver, some of the older guys, I think they're going to love this car because it drives like a car from the past. It's not aero dependent. All the cars that they've had over the last several years have been developed in the wind tunnel, all about aero. This car is all about mechanical and mechanics, spring shocks, sway bars, things that we're used to working on.
And when we talk technical and mechanics, we bring in our crew chief, Jeff Hammond, at the Ford Cutaway car just down below the Hollywood Hotel. Jeff, thanks for being with us. I know you're going to explain everything. First, I want to congratulate both you and Daryl Waltrip for your Emmy nomination, Outstanding Studio Analyst for you and Outstanding Event Analyst for DW. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. And way to go, DW.
Yeah, we're very proud of you guys. We're rooting for you. And, you know, after seeing that little open bit, when I think Emmy, okay, I usually think this right here. To me, that says award winner.
Oh, man.
And we kid because we get those clothes were from yesterday. Jeff, you're down there. Explain, give us the lowdown on the car tomorrow. Show it.
Well, Chris, you've already started talking about one of the key things I think this whole race car has to be the front end and the splitter itself. When you see this part on the race car, this is kind of something different. Nobody's really used to looking at the car like that. And I think today, this could be one of the things we see a lot on the racetrack, and I'm talking about in pieces, as DW's already talked about. But one unique part about this car has to be the safety aspect of it. And right now, the impact foam in behind this door panel is something new we've never seen before, and I believe it'll be also tested as the day goes on.
You know, Jeff, one of the things that I really don't like about the car is the rear wing. And the main reason I don't like it is because I don't know anything about it. Can you help me out there, buddy? I don't know a whole lot about that piece.
Yeah, it really is. It's a totally different look from what we're used to seeing with the spoiler. Wing definitely is what this is. It looks like something off a Formula One car almost, but it makes a lot of downforce as far as air flowing over it. But the unique part has to be the side plates here. And what they do is they make side force. They help to make this car really dig into the racetrack and get that side grip from all the air that hits on here. But guys, I think this thing could also play today in another area that we maybe will have to kind of watch, maybe on pit road. I'm looking for a lot of the teams that have a problem. Getting around the car, that could be something we'll have to watch. I think pit stops will be slower because of it.
All right, and how about where the driver sits, the cockpit area? Biggest changes there.
Oh, yeah, take a look over here. We've got a COT chassis, and you can see exactly what we're talking about, the halo bar. This is what goes above the driver's head, definitely taller, about 2.5 inches. Gives the guys a lot more room as far as the head's concerned.
All right, thanks very much, Jeff. Hurry on back up to the Hollywood Hotel and join us. Old car, new car, any car. Kurt Busch has been the right guy at Bristol. He's won 5 of the last 10 races here today, starting in the next to last position, though, and no one has ever won a Bristol race from that far back.
Boot, scoop, and boogie.
Busch likes this racetrack.
Busch has got to run. Busch wins it. Woo!
And we're glad that Kurt could join us from trackside, get ready to go racing. Kurt, what do you think? A thumbs up on the car of tomorrow?
Oh, absolutely. We've been having our troubles this weekend, but we think we've got it all behind us. We were off in practice right before qualifying, so it's like, all right, let's throw this at it. We were twice as far off.
Hey, Kurt, it's DW. When you start that 4 back, you know, the first thing you're going to hear is the old crew chief calling you and saying, hey, dude, the leader's 2 seconds back. You got to get up on the wheel. You got to get aggressive. How are you going to handle that today, buddy?
Well, right now, you know, with the way the lucky dog situation is, if you do go a lap down, we can't pressure ourselves to work our way too quick through the pack because we've got all these new guys out here, a new race car. Very patient at the beginning, I think, is going to be the key for us.
Do you have any idea, Kurt, how this car is going to respond to running into other people? I mean, do you think it's tough? Do you think it's tough enough?
It doesn't seem like it's tough enough, but yet we have yet to see any of it happen. So we just got to play it by ear, and if we have damage, we've got to come in and fix it. If other guys have damage, that means we'll be able to pass them and work our way towards the front.
But starting back in the back there, big guy, how tough is it, and what is your mission right now as far as keeping that car clean?
Well, it's just what we have to do every time we come to Bristol, and that's survive. You have to work your way through the pack. If you have let's just say we started on the pole and had to change engines during practice, we'd be in the back. We feel like we've got a fast enough car with the Miller Lite Dodge Avenger to work our way through the pack and see what we get. So same old Bristol for us.
Hey, before we let you go, I know you're happy with your new crew chief. Jeff Hamlin, our Emmy-nominated crew chief, was once your crew chief. We're putting up a graphic for people at home to see your career with Jeff Hamlin. I mean, since you left, you have taken off the championship, top 10s.
Look at all those zeros.
Yes, right. That's on the Hamlin side, right? So he's a pretty good broadcaster. So you talk about your crew chief and that relationship.
Well, I guess with that stat, I'm a slow learner, so I didn't pick up the paces I needed to when I had Hammond with me, and then my rookie year I struggled as well. And here I am with a car tomorrow starting almost last. So give me time, we'll make it work, and I'm real happy with Roy McCauley and my Penske team. I couldn't have made a better choice to come to this race team.
All right, good luck on the race today. Thanks, Kurt.
Thanks a lot.
All right, Kurt Busch, who has owned this place, his best finish so far this year.
Hey, are these people working for us or working
in
against us?
California?
Well, the thing is right now, I will say about Kurt Busch, he is very adaptable. He'll do fine today.
And we kid because we care. If we didn't kid you, then you know we wouldn't like you or something like that. All right, let's check in with our Fox Pit Watch and start with Matt Yoakum.
Chris, Tony Stewart had the best car in final practice, but does he have a good enough car today to help score Chevrolet's 600th NASCAR win?
Well, Jimmie Johnson's been to victory lane 25 times, but never at this track. Does he know how to find it? How bad does he want it? We're going to talk to Jimmie Johnson.
Jeff Gordon has 5 wins. He's led over 2,400 laps on this racetrack. But will all that success transfer to the car of tomorrow today?
Well, what do you think Formula One star Juan Pablo Montoya thinks of this place? I'll ask him.
All right, thanks, crew. Short track, short tempers, but a big show ahead. A track like Bristol, completely foreign to a racer like Juan Pablo Montoya. We'll find out how he will handle this half mile.
That's funny right there.
And 2-time Bristol winner Matt Kenseth out of the car and onto the stage for photo finish. Mark Martin missing his first race weekend in almost 20 years. What's he going to be doing and who's filling in? You'll meet the new guy. And, of course, we're still dealing with the car of tomorrow.
Si hablo español.
El automobile de mañana. Yeah.
Here at Bristol, but today he's going to do something that he's never done before. Stay with us. Glad to have you along for NASCAR on Fox.
That 01 car.
Mark Martin right now truly is an army of one.
Check out the points. Mark Martin in first, but not here at Bristol, taking the weekend off, and he'll lose his points lead. Also end that streak of 621 consecutive starts. As you check out the rest of the points, he's expected to miss next week's race in Martinsville, be back in April at Texas. Martin, by the way, the only driver in last year's chase for the championship who did not win a race during the year. Weekend off doesn't mean the Mark is too far away from racing. On Saturday in Lake City, Florida, he was watching his 15-year-old son, Matt, run in a late model race. The younger Martin competing against, among others, in the Super Late Model 25 event. Motocross superstar Ricky Carmichael. That's Carmichael's car in the to be tutoring both. Regan Smith, who is half Mark Martin's age, gets behind the wheel of the 01 car today. Growing up, Smith said he liked Davey Allison, but his hero was Mark Martin. And one day, Regan hopes to be good enough to make Smith a household name.
Hi, I'm Regan Smith from Cato, New York, driver of the 01 U.S. Army Chevrolet. And it's Regan with 2 E's. Or 1 E, but it sounds like 2 E's. When I first called Mark Martin, my teammate this year, I remember picking the phone up and finally getting the courage to dial it. And, you know, palms were sweaty and hands were shaking. To be talking to him on the phone, it seemed almost surreal. Growing up in New York, Syracuse basketball and football is about really the only thing in the area, so you gotta cheer for him, definitely. You know, I like the golf just because it's something different from the day-to-day lives. You know, you can get out there and the only thing you're worried about is chasing that little white ball. Usually, if I'm playing, I'm chasing it back and forth. I'm going every which way but the right way.
Hey, DW, I think he likes Army golf.
Yeah, military. Left, right, left,
all right.
Yeah.
I'll do the jokes. You guys do the analyst work.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've been working on that all morning.
And you did it well. How about, he said, I got a lifeline. I'll be on the phone, Regan, with Mark Martin. He said, I'm there if you need me all day, but he can't dial it. Is Martin going to stick to that 22 race plan for the year?
Well, I don't know, but Regan ought to be real good today if he wants to keep that right. But I got to think, Mark's going to run more races, I guarantee you.
All right. And how about now?
How much you want to bet?
For everyone over 22, he runs, you owe me 100.
Okay.
How about us about Mountain Dew?
I don't think we can wager in this state. The car owner, they keep the points no matter who's behind the wheel.
That's the most important thing right now. It would be really special for Bobby Ginn to be able to have these two drivers be able to bring him home a driver's championship just as important as, owner's championship just as important as a driver's championship.
All right, just when you think you've heard the last from Mark Martin?
If you think about it, there's never been a NASCAR race on Fox that I hadn't been in. So now I finally get to do something I've been wanting to do for years. Push mute on DW. Nah, I'm just kidding. I look forward to being a race fan just like everyone else and watching the one and only NASCAR on Fox.
NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by Domino's Double Zero Deal, the official pizza of NASCAR. Last year, it snowed during the Bristol race weekend. Can you believe that? The forecast for today, heat and sunshine may set a record if the temperature goes over 85 degrees. Springtime means baseball. Catch it. Major League Baseball on Fox April 7th, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Mets and Braves and other great games get things started. The defending points champ, Jimmie Johnson, buzzing into Bristol, sizzling. He's been hotter than Kobe Bryant lately. Jimmie going for his 3rd consecutive win. Oh, I'll tell you who that is in a minute. He's never won here, at least not yet, but now he's ready to make his own noise in Thunder Valley.
This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot. This is why. This is why. This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot. This is why. This is why. This is why I'm hot.
Here's Krista Voda with Jimmie. Hey, Krista.
Hey, guys. You know, in the closing laps of his win last week, Jimmie Johnson at Atlanta said he was holding his breath. So now we're at Bristol in a car of tomorrow. Will you be holding your breath in this race?
You will at Bristol. It doesn't matter what car you're in. I woke up Friday morning just mad and angry, and my wife's like, well, what's the problem? And I said, I'm at Bristol. I'm just getting ready for this place. So it's time to race. We've got a good car. The Lowe's Impala's been driving well, and hopefully we can survive 500 laps today.
I know after winning the championship, you kind of start to find the finer details. Winning on a road course, winning at a short track. How big is Bristol? Where does that rank on your list?
Bristol's one of my goals. I want to win at Bristol and on a road course, as you mentioned. Those are my 2 primary goals this year. Get a couple shots at each of them. We'll see how it goes.
All right, he's going to try to do it in the car of tomorrow, going for Chevy's 600th all-time win.
All right, thanks, Krista and Jimmie. All right, guys, I'm no genius, but
absolutely.
Jimmie has 2 wins, and he has a 3rd place in California, right? But he's 4th in points. So what's the deal here when you look at the big picture? It
doesn't take but one bad race to kind of get you in that kind of situation. But the other key thing is right now, I think that this team has already hit its stride early in the season. and I think it's really a good relief for him to get a win early on, especially two.
One of the things they got to do is just keep their team together. Remember, think about Earnhardt, Petty, all those guys in the past. They stayed with the same team. Dale drove for Richard Childress all those years, won races, won championships. If Chad and Jimmie stay together with Rick Hendrick, they will continue to win races and championships. That's a dynasty team.
Right, and he is the leading money winner so far, and when they start the chase, he'll be in good shape. All right, Juan Pablo Montoya has won the Indy 500 and plenty of Formula One races. He's from Columbia, not South Carolina. That's the country.
Hey.
After his fifth-place finish last week, the best so far in his NASCAR rookie season, he starts today from the back of the pack. It could be in for the wildest, bumpiest ride of his career. Our Dick Berggren is standing by.
Yeah, and with that background of Formula One and IndyCar racing, he had never even run a place like this. So what do you think of Bristol?
I think it's a really cool place. You know, it's an amazing place to run. It's hard, man. It's, you know, from a lot of guys that came from small tracks, it's a lot easier for us. You know, for me this is the smallest place around before this was Memphis. It's pretty tough, but you know, we're getting the hang of it.
And they started you with the other car and then switched to the car tomorrow for here.
Yeah, and also it's everything came together. It's pretty tough, but you know, yesterday we did a good job, and I think my Texaco Hamlin Dodge car today should be pretty good as well.
Good deal. He ran all 300 laps at yesterday's Busch race. To Matt Yoakum.
And one guy who's won here at Bristol in the past is Tony Stewart. Fastest car in final practice. What's the biggest concern for you today with this new car tomorrow?
No, really no concerns. I mean, it's just a matter of going out and driving them. You know, once we get in them and start the race, you're not really going to even think about it. It's just going to be a matter of going out and doing what you do every week, and you know, just trying to hope that the adjustments that you have will be able to compensate for whatever happens with track conditions and all that. So you know, we just have to wait and see. It seems like, contrary to everybody's popular belief, it's actually harder to pass than versus easier. It seems like they're more aero dependent now than they've ever been, but you know, as time goes on, I'm sure that aspect will get better. So we'll wait and see what we can do with our Impala this week.
And you're going to be a big cover boy again on the EA Sports game.
Yeah, I was pretty excited when we were on it in 2001 and 2004, and then you know, each year after we were on the cover, we won the championship. So I don't know if it'll help us this year, but according to history, it should lead to hopefully to another championship next year for sure.
Well, good luck today.
Thanks, bud.
Chris?
All right, thanks, Matt and Tony. And of course, it's kind of the opposite of the John Madden video game curse. Let's get Madden's reaction.
That looks like a couple of crew chiefs after the race
exactly
today.
Right. Or drivers.
Yeah, and by the way, crew chiefs, right? With their crews have to be on the go today, no matter what. There's no break time.
Yeah, they've got to be on their game today. Everything happens so fast here. If the crews are not prepared, one flat tire, and somebody's got their basically head out of the game, they'll be in trouble.
All right,
16-second laps. You go down the hurry here.
Two of the best right there.
Jeff Gordon is on the pole, second in points. He's won 5 Bristol races. We'll talk with him coming up, but let's check out Speed's Road Tour Challenge.
The Speed Road Tour Challenge continues. Esty is on the phone. Scott's not feeling well. And the other one is incognito.
I am ready to just relax and chill and be at home for a little bit.
How about back in it? Isn't there supposed to be 4 of us?
Where's Becky to help clean? My main strategy was to get off the bus, period. Just too much drama and emotional instability for me. I'd rather not be around her at all.
I've got nothing to say about or to Becky.
No telling what'll happen next week.
We'll get these cars warmed up, have us a little smash up derby time.
Like literally on fire. Today is the end of my Speed Road Tour Challenge.
Packing it up.
It's just time to go.
Jeff Gordon just got by Matt Kenseth. And look at this, the 24 just went around.
Out of his car, and he's not happy.
You're at Bristol. Tempers flare for everybody.
That's just Bristol, baby.
Jeff Gordon placed on probation for a few months for that shove with Matt Kenseth. He hopes to figure out the car tomorrow today, maybe take over the points lead. He's standing by with our Steve Burns.
Yeah, let's find out, Chris. 5 wins here for Jeff. He got his 5th pole on Friday. You've led 13 of the last 15 races here. But, Jeff, does any of that mean anything here today? Could you transfer that success?
Well, yes and no. I mean, there's a certain feel that you're looking for in a balance on the car that this place, I think, needs. But a lot harder to figure it out with this car than it was on the older car. And, you know, we figured it out on Friday. We're going to take advantage of this track position, the DuPont Impala SS, and hopefully we can take advantage of that pit road spot as well.
Jeff, what kind of racing are we going to see here today? We've always seen emotional racing, tempers flaring, beating and banging. Will we see anything different today?
Well, I mean, the bumpers line up a lot different. You know, it's a lot harder to pass with this car that we've seen so far, but some guys have got the handle, some guys don't. So I think that you're going to see a fairly typical Bristol.
And no pushing and shoving this year, right?
Yeah, hopefully not by me anyway.
All right, back to Chris.
All right, thanks, Steve. I still don't get it. I mean, the boos with some of the cheers for as good a champion as he's been. He's driving like a champion this year.
Well, he really is. He's off to a great start, and I think that the other competition ought to be really worried about Jeff because he has all the tools. I say it all the time. He reminds me of Tiger Woods. On his worst day, he's better than most everybody else. He's starting in that #1 pit slot. Got that going for him. I heard a little uncertainty in his voice, but I think he'll have a good day.
But I think the other key thing is I think he and Steve Letarte have finally got on that page of really understanding what each one of these guys need to have in their race car.
Anytime he can promote the crew chief.
Hey, man, it's all about it. It's a team.
Well, I somewhat agree. He and Steve have come together pretty well this year.
Which was a little bit of an issue last year. All right, time now for our Fox News Watch. We begin by wishing Kelly Earnhardt-Elledge a speedy recovery. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s sister is recovering from surgery, and so the driver of the 8 car has put contract negotiations with DEI on hold for now. Jr. has 1 career win at Bristol. He's currently 26th in points. Matt Kenseth 5th in points today, getting his crew chief back. Robbie Reiser returning from a season-opening suspension along with Kenny Francis, and Casey Kahne really needs him. That team is 36th in points. On the track, too tough to tame, not too tough to pave. Darlington last repaved at 95. The Lady in Black will undergo the facelift after this year's race on Fox. They've already begun improvements, just like Bristol. They're going to change the concrete here after this race today. All right, time now for a little gas and go with our guys.
All right, let's do it.
We ask
I'm ready.
questions that you have never heard, and we pretend like we like the answers, and you're on a time limit. All right, DW, here, this is for you. 15 seconds. Was Bristol the right place to debut the car tomorrow?
Well, that's a no-brainer. You bring a car here. I mean, the car is not the issue. It's going to be about drivers and who can work the throttle and staying out of trouble. There are some issues with the car, but I don't think they'll be the star of the show today. I think the scuffling and shuffling after the race is going to be the problem.
Hey, that's my job. All right, Jeff, this is for you.
Don't cut me short either.
It's a quickie. 10 seconds. Does the car tomorrow really level the playing field for manufacturers?
No.
No?
I do not believe that has anything to do with it. What it does do, it will separate the men from the boys. I'm talking about the good teams and the bad teams. That's what it's going to do.
Yeah, I don't see it doing any good.
Toyota had a rough start, and Dodge has struggled a little bit. All right, Jeff, will the car of tomorrow add frustration to the race today? Talk about tempers here usually are bad enough.
Oh, Chris. The intangibles. This is what this race has always been about and will be even more about today because of the fact nobody knows whether or not when you hit one of these cars, nobody's really done any beating and banging. It's going to be interesting. And see, the crews have already got started. It's already going to be a free-for-all. It's a free-for-all.
Yeah, those are guys who like each other.
That's right. Teammates.
All right, Daryl, for you, Jeff Gordon upset with Juan Pablo Montoya for racing him too hard at the end of last week's race. Did he have something to beef about? Was that legit?
You know, Juan could be a lonely number sometimes.
No. So, and he didn't rehearse that, I have to tell you. Thank goodness.
I don't know. I think it was really good racing myself. And you got to, like Jeff said, you got to know who to race and not to race.
And this is a good place for revenge, right? You can't call it that. All right, time's up. Jeff, will Casey Kahne race any differently today because he's not in the top 35 in the owner's points?
He better. Yeah. He better get up on that wheel, and he and his crew chief better have a good package today because if he keeps slipping and sliding back, next week when he gets to Martinsville, he's liable to have to sweat some bullets, and that's not something he really wants to have to deal with, I don't think.
He's failed to finish 2 of the last 3 races, but again, he gets his regular crew chief back. Okay, all right, Daryl, 15 seconds. What's the best rivalry in Bristol?
Why does he get 15? I only get 10.
Because he's the star. All right, what do you think? We got Harville Biffle, we got Kenseth Gordon, we got Hammond and Waltrip.
Well, I like Harvick and Biffle. I'd like to see some of that, but then, you know, Matt and Gordon, that was pretty exciting, too. You don't see that very often, 2 calm guys, so we don't know who the stars of this show are going to be until it's over.
It could be today, right?
It could be those 2 guys right teammates. It doesn't matter.
It could be the car tomorrow against everybody.
I've even seen that guy. I've even seen Dale Jarrett.
Remember what he did last time?
This is for both of you since you were whining, all right?
Oh, thank you.
But you each have 10 seconds.
That's 30 seconds.
Daryl still goes first. All right, there's got to be a better name than car of tomorrow. So what are you going to call yours? COT?
No, COY.
What's that?
coy. I'm going to be coy here.
Oh, and it's the car
of yesterday.
All right, see, I love that. See that? What's yours? Come on, Jeff.
It's real simple. Supercar. I mean, this thing is able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. I mean, it's just like Superman.
All right.
Supercar.
That was kind of exciting. Thank you very much. I think
what a letdown. You said you had a really big.
I know.
Wait a minute. Then share with us your great idea, genius.
So, I like Coy. I'm going to ride his coattails, just like you did all those years.
That's exactly
Matt Kenseth, who did a good job hanging in there with his interim crew chief, Chip Bullen, has a new challenge today, like a lot of the drivers, steering the car tomorrow. His biggest challenge, though, might have been having to put up with me for photo finish. With Matt Kenseth for photo finish. And Matt, we throw up some pictures here. Robbie Reiser, your sidekick. How would you best describe a good working relationship between a crew chief and a driver, especially in this case?
Main thing is trust. You know, he trusts me and I trust him.
And this is you and the missus and the family, the gang, I guess. And that's Charlotte and Lars.
Well, Charlotte just got named Charlotte because she was a girl and we won our first cup race there. And
good tie-in.
Lars, I was listening to Metallica. I just got thinking of their drummer, Lars. So I said, yeah, we'll call him Lars. And then Katie thought it was cool, so we kept it.
Katie went along with it, and there is...
they look a lot alike, don't they? You know, when I started doing this, you get a lot of opportunities to do cool stuff. And they're like, who would you like to meet for celebrities? The only people I've ever really cared to meet, well, besides you, is Metallica.
And we saw part of the family before. This is the real part of the family.
Yeah, that was Ross's first go-kart that his grandpa got him. So that looks exactly like my late model looked back then.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my late model in probably, gosh, 94.
All right, thanks for playing photo finish. Appreciate it.
All right,
Matt. Have a great season. And Matt's won 2 of the last 3 races run at Bristol. Those were under the lights. Going to be warm and sunny today for Kenseth, part of Roush Fenway. As we count you down to the start of the race today, we also want to congratulate our technical team and audio for their Emmy nomination, along with Darrell and Jeff. These guys are thinking about racing 500 laps on one of the toughest tracks, Bristol Motor Speedway, and the new car. Stick around. Like toughest tickets in sports, Lambeau Field or Fenway Park. This is the 50th consecutive sellout at Bristol. More than 160,000 fans. Goes back to 82. Back then, they only held about 30,000. RDW, of course, won that race. And his success here, incredible. In fact, he has his own parking spot. And that's with 7 consecutive wins and 12 overall. We'll get you here at Bristol with a plaque. I don't know if we can... Can we fit your ego in that parking spot?
No, get out of here.
you have dominated. It's a historic day because we have the new car, or the Coy as you want to call it, the legendary Jimmie Johnson, the Grand Marshal here. And Darrell, you are going to go to the flag stand and you're going to do the flag to start this thing.
You've never done that before.
Yeah.
No, I've never done that before, and I want all the fans, all 160,000 of them, to get up on their feet. When I drop that green flag, I want to hear boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
Do we have earplugs?
I want to hear it all the way. I want to hear it Johnson City.
If everybody can get together, you can do that.
I think we can. I'm going to ask them if they can get up and do it.
It will be emotional for you, right?
Yeah.
You have a certain special feelings about this.
I love this place, Chris. It's a driver's racetrack. You know when you win here today, it's going to be 80 degrees. You know when you've won here today, you not only have defeated the best in the business, but you defeated the toughest racetrack in the business as well.
Let me tell you something about this racetrack real quick. It's a survival racetrack. You got to have car control, you got to have temper control, and you got to have some luck.
All right, DW will show us what drivers will see in their car of tomorrow today. He drove around Bristol in the Roush Fenway Ford Fusion in today's AutoZone driving zone.
Quite well, I might add.
Okay.
I'm going to drive the car tomorrow, today. I want to see what we got here. So far, she feels pretty good. Car drives good, got a good view. A little hard to see past the A-post, but it drives good, it handles good. I feel that rear wing working. It's really pulling down the back of the car. Folks, I'll tell you what, I've run a lot of laps in Bristol. I've driven every kind of car you can drive. NASCAR has done an outstanding job with this race car. It drives great. It's got a lot of downforce. The wing is working. I catch my breath. This car is an absolute dream to drive, and the boys did a great job. I want to thank everybody at Roush Fenway. Ford Fusion, the Fox 1, looks good, man.
Looked like you were having a lot of fun, and we're going to throw up the starting grid for today's race. Again, Jeff Gordon on the pole, Kasey Kahne up front, important for him. Darrell, you call this the COY car of yesterday. Is that because of the rough kind of driving you think that this will have?
No, Chris, because if you look at the body, you heard Tony Stewart refer to, he said this car is actually more aero dependent. Well, it is because it doesn't have the aerodynamic shape that the other cars have had. This car is a mechanical. It's going to be a crew chief's delight.
Yeah.
You got to change things on the chassis, not the body.
How about Tony Stewart called this the car of tomorrow a fast-flying brick? Okay.
Well, it's a difficult challenge. I mean, I talked to several crew chiefs, and it's not an easy thing to work with because of some of the restrictions NASCAR built into it. You can't tip the frame like you used to, so you have to work things totally different. And it goes back to some of the old school racing that we really started with, more like a stock chassis.
Yeah, I think there's drivers that have driven cars that were not so aero dependent. The ones that are all whoop-de-doo, all shaped out of, cocked over to the side. No, this car is a straight-up car. The guy that has got a good feel will be able to really set this car up well.
The Busch winner from yesterday, Carl Edwards, doing the backflip.
Oh, yeah, and he's one of the kind of drivers that may be able to do really well with this car because I think it's going to challenge them. They're going to have to get up on the wheel. They're going to have to show you something. Steve Letarte made a comment on qualifying day. He said, my driver showed up and he was ready to go to work. And Darrell, you're a big proponent. You got to have, your work clothes on. You've got to come with the right kind of attitude. And to be able to be good here at Bristol, you've got to have a state of mind like no other. You've got to like this place.
The right kind of, like you said, going into Vegas. The attitude, if you talk yourself out of it before you start, you're in trouble. And
the power of positive racing.
Well, Jeff, what about the splitters here? This is a place where guys repair cars. You see half a car out there.
I'm telling you right now, this is going to be, it's Bristol. Nothing changes there. There's going to be some beating and banging. There's going to be a lot of parts flying around them, and that's one part you're going to see on the racetrack quite a bit, scattered all over the place.
We got a lot of knowns, but we got a whole lot more unknowns about this little unit right here. How tough is it?
It'll be like a mystery theater playing out at the Greek Coliseum. Let's take you down trackside at Bristol Motor Speedway for opening ceremonies.
Of colors by the Air Force Combat Climatology Center, and today's invocation by the Reverend Mike Rife of the Van Sant Church of Christ in Van Sant, Virginia.
Dear God, we thank you for your grace and mercy that allows us into your presence. And being in your presence today, we thank you for this beautiful facility and all those that are associated with it. We pray that you will bless today's race sponsor, the Smith family, and Food City, and we pray that you will protect each participant. In Jesus' name, amen.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for our national anthem by Mercury recording artist, Billy Currington.
Whoa, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
As we move ahead, we honor those of the past. Darrell Waltrip to the flag stand. America's best drivers navigate their way around this old reliable track in a new car.
"50 consecutive sellouts in Thunder Valley for NASCAR Nextel Cup racing. Why? Because once folks saw this track on TV and the action it provides, they just had to come here. And this became auto racing's field of dreams. Regan Smith bought the track, built seats and suites to the sky. And they are jammed today, 160,000 strong. Hi, everybody. Well, it can only be Bristol. Mike Joy with Larry McReynolds. And the big question about the car tomorrow, Larry, is not, I don't think, how is it going to race? But what's going to happen when things go wrong?
And that's something that all the teams are asking. But honestly, I think it goes back to what Darrell and Jeff talked about in the pre-race. It's the unknowns. This has been a 5 to 7 year project. They have been testing, researching. We've been here for 2 days. Actually, the average qualifying speed for the field of cars is a little bit quicker than in August, but we have not dropped the green flag on 43 of them, and that's something these teams have had to think about, that they have to prepare for. Remember, they knocked that wing off just like the current rear spoiler. They will have to replace it, but we're going to have to get racing before we answer a lot of these questions.
A very tight field, only 0.4 of a second separated those who race from those who went home on Friday. And we draw ever closer to getting ready to race. Time for our FedEx Racetracks question, sent in by one of you viewers. Raphael from Chicago wants to know, how will racing change with the car of tomorrow?
Again, the unknown question, but I think you hit the nail on the head, Mike. We still have a very competitive, quick field here.
You're encouraged to write in your questions about each track we visit as part of the FedEx Letter of the Week. Log on to foxsports.com, keyword FedEx for more information. To give the command, one of racing's true legends who lives near his boyhood home of Ronda, North Carolina, alongside US 421, which is now the Junior Johnson Highway. That's Junior on the left with driver Charlie Glotzback after he transitioned to owner. But behind the wheel, Junior won 50 NASCAR Grand National races. And as an owner, he won 139 victories, including 21 here at Bristol Motor Speedway. One of NASCAR's 50 greatest drivers of all time will give today's command.
3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, for the words we've all been waiting for, Food City 500 Grand Marshal, Junior Johnson.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
Thunder Valley reverberates with 770 horsepower times 43. We're ready to race in Bristol on Fox. Look at this crowd, 160,001. And that one is 12-time Bristol winner, 7 in a row, Darrell Waltrip, who's on the flag stand. I thought he was, 4 pace laps. Thanks, Darrell. I thought he was going to borrow Chris Meyer's tie, but he has an actual green flag to wave to get this field going. Budweiser, official beer of NASCAR, is proud sponsor of the Budweiser Pole Award, given to the fastest qualifier at each Nextel Cup race. Budweiser congratulates Jeff Gordon, who joins Ryan Newman, Casey Kahne, and David Gilliland for the Budweiser Shootout of 2008. So many unknowns about the car of today. Used to be the car of tomorrow, but today's tomorrow. Never mind. Larry, adjustability on these cars during the race and on pit stops. What can you do that you couldn't do with yesterday's car?
Well, again, pit road here is aggravating anyhow, and it's so easy to gain or lose spots on this pit road. The boxes are just big enough for the car. But if you go back to all the races we've had up to this point, the way these guys made adjustments was the catch can man, the guy that caught the fuel at the back of the car. He'd reach across that rear spoiler, make the adjustments. He can't reach across that rear wing. Another curveball about this car tomorrow. They've had to adjust their pit stops. Now you will actually see the rear tire carrier have to make these adjustments, and it will be an adjustment for him to to do that.
Now, we've heard of a couple of teams that have changed catch can man and going to the tallest man on the team so he can make that adjustment.
One crew chief told me he went through the shop and he found the tallest guy in the shop and said, "You are now our catch can man."
Going to be a lot of action on pit road today. Let's talk to our NASCAR on Fox All-Star pit crew and get their final thoughts before we go green. Dick Berggren.
Well, bigger car, taller car, bigger in the back end. You need a big pit crew. Kyle Busch, listen to this. Jackman, Rick Pigeon, 6'8", 240. Gasman, Brad Pickens, 6'6", and the catch can guy, Jason Dalrymple, 6'7". Matty.
And here in the A-pit, Walt Smith, who's right behind me, the pit crew coach for DEI, they changed their approach to pitting the car tomorrow. Had to change up the footwork, the pivot points, because they were trying to pick up speed around the car. They were a second and a half slower with a COT pit stop in practice than their normal car. They have impressed on that. They've improved on that. They've also done one other thing, Krista. They've taken orange tape and they've outlined the edge of the rear wing. That way, when the guys come around to go to the left side of the car, they don't hook it with their uniform. Krista?
All right, Matt, well, let's talk about the front of the car. One of the concerns for these crews is that front splitter. For the air hose here, they're concerned about getting the hose stuck on the front end. So for Nick Odell and Jason Gay, the front tire changer and carrier combination on the number 9, they have to be careful to clear the front of that car. Another concern, because that splitter sticks out just a bit more, the driver has to be on his game and not forget that it is there because he could clip his front carrier and changer. These guys, you can bet, they're very concerned about that. Steve?
And Krista, in addition to all that you just mentioned, this is a very tight pit road, and for all those reasons, Elliott Sadler told me the Evernham cars concentrated very much on qualifying so they could pick specific pits. This is the first pit box off of turn 4. Elliott Sadler won't have anybody blocking him in as he comes into his pit box.
You'd need a locksmith to line up all the keys to the race today, Larry. Let's concentrate on just a few.
Well, it is, and you're right, there are so many, but here's one of them right here. Adjusting to the unknown. These guys have never raced this car. They're not sure how the car will react into a race when you're on long runs. Race the racetrack. DW knows this better than anyone. Yeah, he had a great race car, but the biggest thing, he raced the elements, see who was left, then he raced the competitors. And you know what? Even after the race, you better keep your emotions in check because that will beat you here too.
3 to go at the line. You see the 36-degree banking of Bristol, the steepest of any track in Nextel Cup. And this afternoon, when this race is over, they're going to tear it up, tear down the outside wall, tear down the often patched concrete surface and the apron, and reconfigure this track. More on that later.
There you see 500 laps, pit road speed, very critical, 30 miles per hour. The pit window, you see it there, 125 to 135 laps. No cars will be going to the rear of the field. We've been here 2 days. We didn't have but one debris caution during all those practice sessions.
DW giving them 2 to go.
He looks good up there, doesn't he?
49 car field. We had 50 entered. The 34 car from Jenkins Racing is not going to contend the entire schedule, so 49 came here to Bristol to try to make the show. For the first time in 5 years, Joe Nemechek failed to qualify, along with David Rudeman, Paul Menard. Kevin LePage was the last driver bumped out of the field. Michael Waltrip and Johnny Sauter headed home Friday.
Yeah, Kevin LePage ran 3.5 tenths off of what Jeff Gordon ran, did not make the show.
Getting onto pit road here is a chore. Have a look at this overhead view, because under caution, you must enter and return to the track. There, you must enter. You must come all the way around and exit here, whether you are pitting on the front or the back side of the track. Under green, you can enter and leave the pits on your side of the track, but under yellow, you must make that horseshoe and go all the way around.
And we have seen the best of the best mess that up right there. We've already got damage on J.J. Yaley, the back of his car, the 18 car. It's already started.
And we haven't even started.
Bristol will be Bristol, but you know what? One thing will not change about this place: survival.
500 laps is a long time, and a lot of rookies. As you see, it was Reed Sorensen that bumped into Yaley.
I think we found the other victim there.
Not hard to find. 1 to go.
I think this is where it happened right here.
Oh, yeah.
Yaley, it's the accordion effect. We saw that about 8 times yesterday in the Busch Series race.
We'll see it 108 times today. Darrell Waltrip has a grandstand named for him here. Talking to the crowd.
You know how we're going to start this race, right? Boogity, boogity, boogity. When I wave the green flag, I want to hear boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys. You with me? You with me? All right. Give me that green flag, starter.
I would say it's all in DW's hands now.
Come on,
I would say so, DW.
Let's go racing. All right, all right. All right, Mr. Gordon. All right, Mr. King. Be nice, be nice, be nice. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing.
Jeff Gordon, the leader. Tony Stewart to second place.
And I tell you, I'm not surprised to see this. That race car right there, Tony Stewart, the 20 car in final practice yesterday, ran 110 laps. He was happy with that car, but he wanted to make sure it was good on those long runs.
Our DLP Ultimate Picture Cam can follow you all the way around Bristol Motor Speedway. Larry, this field quickly gets single file as Stewart hunts the lead. Action in the back, Kenseth and Montoya.
Mike, you see Montoya get way up the racetrack, and Stewart's going to take the lead here on lap 7, trying to get his 5 bonus points, and he will get them for leading the lap. But Mike, we're only 7 laps into this race. Already the back of the field, back there with Allmendinger and Montoya, almost 2/3 of a lap down already.
There you see the gap from the back of the pack to the leader. It's not very much.
The conveyor belt of race cars.
There's Jeff Burton trying to move on the inside of Bobby Labonte.
Mike, the boys talked about it in the pre-race show. We could set a record for temperature here today. It's pushing 80 degrees. A year ago, when Chris Myers talked about it snowing, 40 degrees. This place is slick right now when it's that hot.
Kenseth in the 17 made his way past the 38.
And what Matt Kenseth is looking for right now is information from his spotter, from Robbie Reiser, his crew chief. Keep me posted where that leader's at, how far behind me he is.
Clint Boyer side by side with Tony Raines. Steve?
Hey, Mike, to follow up on what Larry Mack just said before the race, I asked Jeff Gordon what effect these hot temperatures would have on the track. He said, Steve, I don't have a clue. We don't have a clue about a lot of things right now.
The unknown, just like we've been talking.
Tony Stewart is taking off. He is a 1/10 and a half a second a lap faster than Jeff Gordon and the rest of this field, and I don't think that surprises anyone.
But if we stay without caution, it will not be long until he catches the back of the pack, and that's when all those guys second through about 8 will just come right back to him. We see that every time here.
Second place, Kasey Kahne working over pole sitter Jeff Gordon.
Talked to Kenny Francis this morning, Kasey Kahne's crew chief, back for the first time since Daytona when he was suspended. Really happy with their car yesterday on long runs, and his teammate is wanting to follow him through the hole that he will poke. We're riding with him, Elliott Sadler, in the 19.
Now Gordon went up the racetrack as if to give Kahne a little bit of room, but he's got to be careful he doesn't get freight trained, because the rest of that pack, as you ride with Sadler, have caught Kahne.
There's about 5 vultures back there saying, yeah, you open that door, Jeff Gordon, you'll go from about 2nd to 8th.
Spin, turn 2. Reed Sorensen all by himself. And the first caution of the day comes out, leaving all 43 cars on the lead lap. 42 of 43. Sorensen is a lap down.
And that caution is great news for Montoya, Allmendinger, Kurt Busch, David Regan. They were just about to get lapped.
Well, I said all by himself. I was wrong.
He went for a hole that was already filled.
With Kevin Harvick. First caution of the day at Bristol.
NASCAR Nextel Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Chevy, the most wins in NASCAR history. An American Revolution. By State Farm, great service, great rates. Nobody takes care of you like State Farm. By McDonald's. And by Nextel, only from Sprint, helping NASCAR Nextel Cup fans get more done.
Reed Sorensen spun at turn 2 on contact from Kevin Harvick. Darrell Waltrip joins us. Looked like Reed left the door open. Kevin Harvick tried to put his nose in there, and the two made contact.
Yeah, when you're at the back of the field, you got to go, man. And if the guy opens the door just a teeny bit, and that's all that was, a teeny bit, he'll turn you.
The door was ajar.
It was cracked. A little crack in the door.
And Darrell, one reason that group had to go right there, the leader was on the same straightaway behind them.
Oh, that's what drives you crazy, Larry. That crew chief spotter comes on radio, said the leader's on the same straightaway you are.
Here's our first AT&T Singular Virtual Crew Chief question, submitted by Robert Britton of Baltimore. Will the car of tomorrow cause longer pit stops today? To answer, text the word crew to 191 on your AT&T Singular wireless phone. Singular is the new AT&T.
Mike, we had about 17 cars that made pit stops there. They were mainly cars that were at the back, trying to accomplish 2 things. Adjustments on cars that were not driving good. Their hopes would be we maybe go 10 or 15, 20 laps. Then they'll stay out. This group will pit and they'll have that track position.
Jeff Gordon led the first 6 laps. Tony Stewart has led the last 16 laps and was driving away when the caution came out.
Look at that, Mike. Look at the cars, how they're spread out. This single file restart early in the race. Oh, boy.
Stewart just took the green flag. Montoya is not even halfway down the backstretch right now.
Reed Sorensen has taken his car behind the wall for repair.
Now, that looked like casual contact. So I'm surprised in that. Casual for Bristol.
Biggest mover so far, Kurt Busch started last. He's up to 28th, but in heavy traffic as Sadler battles Gordon for 3rd.
Yeah, Jeff Gordon, we almost saw that yesterday in the final practice. He couldn't keep his car down when the track got slick. He was having to diamond the racetrack.
I think a lot of teams have got a pretty big right front spring in their car. And that's not going to race well on a hot, slick racetrack.
McMurray underneath Gordon. And 4th will change hands, and here comes Scott Riggs.
And a whole bunch more.
I think, Mike, what you're going to see, Larry, is cars that are going to be out to lunch. A lot of good cars, but I think you're going to see some cars that are just impossible to drive.
Dick Berggren.
Well, early on, Gordon said the car is a little loose. Then he came on the radio as people started to pass him and said it's real loose. I guess so. He's having a hard time hanging on.
And we didn't hear the word loose very much yesterday in practice. Everybody was pushing, shoving the front end.
Dave Blaney and Denny Hamlin got together coming off turn number 2, and that was messy for a minute, but it sorted out.
I believe turn 2 will be Calamity Corner most of the day, because that's where you get that push, jump sideways.
We just got to report they're changing the radiator in Reed Sorensen's 41 car. Casual contact, Darrell, that's one of the unknowns. We've not raced these cars. We don't know how much damage they'll receive when you start beating and banging.
Yeah, these will be race cars after today. They're just cars when this race started.
David Stremme sporting new colors in his number 40. That's him inside Dale Jr. as you ride along in the Bud car.
And Mike, I just can't contain myself any longer. That was the coolest thing I've ever done. Starting that race.
That's great.
Just being down on the flag stand with Rodney and the guys, and the cars come under you. What an incredible rush.
Darrell, everything that happens here is a rush.
It is.
But that's great.
Oh,
what an honor.
It was. Thank you so much.
How about Kurt Busch? Had a horrible qualifying lap, started last, but he was one of the quickest cars in practice, and from 43rd he's now climbed to 29th in the number 2.
He was one of those 17 cars that pitted, got those fresh tires, which I think will make a difference, as slick as it is today, and made those adjustments. I tell you, Jamie McMurray in that 26 car, he keeps moving forward after a great qualifying run, just drove by Elliott Sadler for 3rd.
Tony Stewart has taken off. He will catch lap traffic within the next 10 laps.
I think the car's a big unknown, but I also think that this kind of weather at this race, for this particular race, is very unusual to be near 80 degrees, and that changes this racetrack dramatically.
The hotter it gets,
the slicker it gets, and the harder it is to get the front tires to hook up.
You put wheels on a brick and put an engine on top, and Stewart would find a way to win with it. Everything he's driven in his career, he's been fast. So throwing him a whole new race car just doesn't seem like it would present such an obstacle.
And and you're right about that. And then he and his teammate both came up here. The 11 was fast the whole testing session, qualified well, so they nailed it right off, and I think we're going to see that a lot.
Speaking of cars that were fast, testing up here, we're riding with Ward Burton in the 4 car right now, had a very fast car at the test, actually had a crash at the test, sitting there running in the 11th. But Steve, we may have some cars that are developing some problems.
Now Larry Mack, Elliott Sadler just told his crew, I have a loose wheel. You guys make the call.
And you know, we had the same thing happen last week with Kyle Busch in the 5 car. I just don't understand that. Torquing wheels is part of the race morning checklist.
The only thing that can happen, Larry, is they had to pull it off going through tech. And when they put it back on, the air wrenched it back on and didn't tighten it up with the wrench.
And Elliott Sadler was not one of those cars that made a pit stop on that last caution.
Right. Montoya, 40th. Right behind Gilliland, and Bobby Labonte has dropped back a bit. And here comes Stewart into the first of the about-to-be one-lap down cars. That's A.J. Allmendinger starting his first Nextel Cup race for the Red Bull Toyota team, just ahead of Stewart.
And he built almost a second lead. That's about to go away.
This takes discipline right here now. That you've got the best car in the field right now. Don't knock the front end off of it. Passing people, trying to get them a lap down. Take your time.
Allmendinger gives way. Rookie David Regan ahead for Stewart, who's led all but the first 6 laps. "41 laps complete at Bristol. 1 caution so far in the Food City 500.
Catch me if you can.
Dale Jarrett is hot, and it's not the 80-degree temperatures in Bristol that have him upset. Watch 17, Matt Kenseth, and Jarrett's 44 fight for the entrance to turn 1.
Dale was kind of moving down, trying to close the door. I think what he would like for a Matt to have realized was, there's a car in front of me. I can't go anywhere. Give me a break. See Kyle right in front of Dale, and I'm thinking Dale was saying, you know, give me a break here, man. I'm trying to get by this dude.
Mayfield scoots through, but Robbie Gordon gets involved right there, along with the 40 of Stremme, the 43. And we're watching back from Kyle Petty, the Victory Junction gang camp.
You see how Dale was up on Kyle. He backed out a little early just to make.
Behind you, caution's out.
The first hit was the wall. The second one was David Gilliland right there.
You see how close that leader, Tony Stewart, was right behind all this, which was another reason these guys were racing desperately.
Saw the 84 car of Allmendinger, man, he had her locked up and all four smoking to avoid that.
You know, look at the rear deck lid and wing are held on by the mandatory tether. Otherwise, that would be laying out on the racetrack, and you can't go back on the racetrack without the wing and the deck lid.
And you know, coming in here, when we leave Bristol, the top 35 and owner points after Bristol will be locked into the show at Martinsville next week. Dale Jarrett, the 44, was actually the only Toyota coming in here that was in the top 35 in owner points. That could change.
Well, one good thing about it, he made this race on his time, so he saved those champion provisionals, those valuable champion provisionals.
David Gilliland being towed in. Which of our Fast Five will be the first to the start-finish line on our Domino's hot lap? Jeff Gordon, Kasey Kahne, Elliott Sadler, Tony Stewart, Jamie McMurray. Text the letter of the corresponding driver to Fox SP, and you'll automatically be entered to win the ultimate fan experience at the Michigan race in August. Today's Domino's hot lap is the halfway lap, lap 250.
You know, Mike, I'm already seeing a trend. What qualifies good in these cars and makes it go fast for one lap is not what it takes to make it race good. We used to deal with this all the time in the old cars without all the aero advantages.
Watch the debris field from this crash with Dale Jarrett coming off the wall.
That's the tether you see holding the whole deck lid on, and that's what the wing is actually hooked to, is the deck lid tethered. The tethers to the wing are tethered to the tethers to the trunk.
Just nowhere for Gilliland to go right there in that 38 car. Now, pit road has been closed. We'll see a lot of these guys come to pit road because we're almost at 50 laps, but pit road has been closed since the cleanup was right at the entrance of pit road.
We talked about the debris field in turns 1 and 2. They're picking up debris on the apron there in turn 4 from this crash as well.
We could very well have a bevy of flat tires after this.
We're going to have a bevy of pit stops because they're all lined up coming to pit road.
Matt.
And the 48 of Johnson, they're going to make an air pressure change in the right rear as well as a chassis adjustment. The car was tight. Remember, he didn't pit on that first run, but the car then balanced off a little bit, but it was still way too tight through the center, Krista.
Kasey Kahne is tight in the middle, a little loose elsewhere. The bottom line, the car is good. They're not going to mess with the chassis. Kasey likes it. Air pressure only. Steve.
Krista, this caution is a big break for Elliott Sadler. He was screaming about a loose wheel. He is worried about the studs that the new wheel will set on, track bar adjustment and air pressure. Dick.
Tony Stewart already in his pit. They're going to take a little bit of tape off the nose of that car to try and cool it down. Pitting right in front of him, Jeff Gordon, the guy that ordinarily would make the adjustments in the back of the car. Jamie Frady can't reach. He's not tall enough. He's only 5'11", and Stewart is out already.
Now, all of our lead lap cars pitted, with the exception of J.J. Yaley, Kurt Busch, Matt Kenseth, and David Stremme. That was guys that pitted back on lap 19. That's the strategy I talked about. That's cars that started at the rear, made that stop early. Now they've got the track position they were looking for. That's the only way they were going to get it.
Rookie mistake for Regan Smith. They have him for pitting outside the box, so he'll be back in.
And if he actually made the pit stops outside the box, that will be a one-lap penalty. If he would have corrected it before the stop was over, it would have just been what time he lost on pit road.
And a veteran driver, he'll figure out. They say overline it, and he'll know he's got to back up. A rookie, he may not even know what they're, he may not catch it. He may not understand what they're saying. Let's see if we can see it with the in car here.
And he's trying to get turned out where he's not blocked in by Ward Burton. You can see the NASCAR official, they give these guys a good signal. Again, if they'd have got him in the box before,
they got him in the face.
Got a jack.
They didn't get him in the box, they got him in the face.
Why they wear helmets.
There he's holding a penalty, finger up one lap.
Let's go down to Jeff Hammond for today's State Farm Safety Report.
One of the new safety innovations of the COT car is one you can't even see. In behind this door skin is a new energy absorbing foam. It goes between this door skin and the roll cage. And what it's designed to do, folks, is in case you have a hard impact from another car or the wall, it's allows the energy to go through this foam and not reach the interior of the car. Now, this is another one of those new safety innovations that NASCAR came up with along with Dow Automotive. This foam is designed so when you hit it, the energy dissipates, and rather than reaching inside the driver's cockpit. Safety is always the most important part of the COT.
Thanks, Jeff. So tough break for Regan Smith. David Regan got the free pass. He is back on the lead lap as we get ready to restart, completing lap 54 of 500.
That caution was very timely, I think, for Elliott Sadler. We did get the report that he did have a loose wheel in the right front, but the lug studs are okay.
I just want to follow up real quick on that, Inspector. You saw he was pointing to the cards out of the box, helping the crew make the adjustment. Not there to penalize them unless they didn't do it.
New faces at the front of the field. There's Stewart back in traffic with David Stremme. His teammate J.J. Yaley is your race leader, along with Kurt Busch, who won here last year, but today started last. Matt Kenseth is in third. Tony Stewart, David Stremme, fourth and fifth.
That's just another Gibbs car up here, and I'm telling you, they're testing and they're qualifying. They've been really good with this car tomorrow, and it's starting to really show up here.
Two cautions early, both from contact. Harvick into Sorensen, and then Kenseth into Jarrett.
Ken Schrader, 21, just got booted up out of the groove.
Whoa, there's a bunch of booting up going on down here in the other end of the speedway. Oh my gosh.
They are stacking up all over the place.
This is Brian Vickers in the 83, trying to get underneath Schrader, who hangs onto it, slides it up the hill.
Schrader was much luckier than Dale Jarrett. Almost the same situation, just at a different end of the racetrack.
And then Jeff Green in the 66 got turned off the front bumper of the 16.
At the other end. That was going on while Schrader was catching his breath.
Leaders, here comes Kurt Busch on the inside of J.J. Yaley. Busch got a huge drive off turn 2.
And Darrell, you mentioned earlier about a very different package from qualifying to race. I think that's what the two has went through. They could not get that fast lap in, but we saw yesterday in practice they got pretty good getting ready to race.
I'm gonna tell you, I raced Rusty Wallace here many times. I'd be throwing up under this car what Rusty had under his car last time he won.
Jeff Gordon backs up a spot to Sadler and now gives one up to the 11 of Denny Hamlin, 10th place there.
These cars drive and feel so much like our old race cars that you've got to think that way.
Now 4 of the drivers at the front pitted back on lap 19. They include Yaley, Stremme, Kenseth, and your present leader, Kurt Busch. Let's go down to the garage and Krista.
Bristol, always an emotional place. Of course, the Care Center, usually a busy place. David Gilliland, the first victim. David, what happened out there?
You know, we just unfortunate day for our M&M Sport Fusion. You know, we struggled all day in practice, and Todd Parrott and the guys made some changes this morning, and the car was quite a bit better, but short day for us. You know, somebody got into Dale Jarrett, it looked like, and he slid down the track in front of us, had nowhere to go. So just a disappointing day, but we'll get him next week.
Thank you.
I tell you, I see two kinds of race cars. I see those that are mechanically working, got the right springs in them. Then I see those that are trying to run off the bump stops, and they're hopping all over the place, bouncing up and down, because they're bumping off of those bump stops that they're allowed to use.
And this racetrack is so rough. That makes it a real challenge to run those chassis stops.
Unpredictable, Larry. The thing hits a bump, takes off. You don't know where it's going to land. Well, yeah, you do know where it's going to land.
Now, Tony Stewart in the 20 car about 2 or 3 laps ago drove by Matt Kenseth in the 17, moved up to the 3rd spot, Tony Stewart. And Kevin Harvick in the 29 back there in the 14th position.
The 24 car is going to get run over. He can't go, and man, they're bumping into him all over.
And the 40 alongside Stremme is on worn tires. He pitted back at lap 19.
Jeff has really got his hands full of that race car. It's going to be a long day for the old 24, I believe.
They keep kicking Matt Kenseth up to the high side. Again, another one of those cars that stayed out the last time. His teammate McMurray, the 26, just went by him a few laps ago. Casey Kahne, and now Casey's teammate Scott Riggs in the 10 goes by Matt.
And Larry, it's starting to look like track position is good, but new tires are better.
It's called 80 degrees. She's slick right now.
Everybody's in trouble with that 20 car. He is bad to the bone.
"78 laps complete. Got your leader for you right here. You don't like that? Got your second place battle for you right here." They're racing all around the track today at Bristol. It's the race for 14th in the middle box on the right.
High, wide, and handsome coverage.
No shortage of action at Bristol.
Now, how about a close-up? Huh? This is really happening. This isn't a game.
Of course, that's a splitter right there on the front of the 11 car that Jeff Hammond talked about in the pre-race. And it's such a fine line. You do not want that thing just dragging the ground. You have to have it off the ground just a little bit to create the low pressure there to make that front end stick.
But you see how smooth that car's riding, Larry? It's not hopping up and down. And cars I see that are not handling well are hopping up and down like they're bouncing off those bump rubbers that I talked about earlier.
Kyle Busch moving up in the number 5.
Kyle Busch, he's done everything in both series. I mean, he had the class of the field yesterday, got spun out twice. If they can just close the deal with this 5 car, whether it's in the Busch series or the Nextel Cup series.
He's been putting on a show, baby.
He has that.
His teammate right behind, Jimmie Johnson.
And you know what? Through all of that, I have to compliment him. He's kept his cool pretty darn good.
Maybe he's been listening to his brother Kurt. We talked to him the other day, and Kurt says, "So what's good is it going to do if I lose my cool? Is it going to fix it?"
It ain't going to fix nothing.
Well, when you leave here, put your temper in your pocket and don't get it out next week, because we're at Martinsville, the little half mile that thinks it's a super speedway, with NASCAR on Fox.
Well, our leader, Tony Stewart, back in lap traffic, and while he's fighting cars like Sterling Marlin in 14, you see engine number 9, Kasey Kahne. He's coming right up to the rear bumper of our leader.
I got to believe with Kasey, where he is in points, Larry, he's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. Needs to lead some laps and win this race to get himself marred out of the, what is he, 35th
36.
or 6th in the points. But he also has to be careful not to take himself out of another race.
And it's a fine line here at this place on that.
And I just tell you, having your crew chief, the guy that you believe in, trust, and listen to all the time, having him here for this race is huge.
Let's see how you answered our first singular virtual crew chief question. As Tony Stewart pulls up on Robbie Gordon, last car on the lead lap. Apparently all the polls have not yet closed. So we'll get back to that in a bit.
You know, Darrell, you've been talking about old school thinking. I can't help but look back at that car in third right now. Jamie McMurray, the 26 car. Who is his crew chief?
Yeah,
Larry Carter.
Larry Carter.
Where did Larry come from? Rusty Wallace. You got it. And here he is running in third.
Pretty good connection, I'd say.
Robbie Gordon came, that's the number 7, came to Bristol without a sponsor. He's sponsoring himself, one of his businesses, Robbie Gordon Off-Road, where they modify, you know, off-road trucks and desert racers and things like that at his shop out in California. So a little self-promotion. It's a good thing.
Right back into rhythm. Just hit your marks.
Murray third and Riggs fourth. So with 94 laps complete, Tony Stewart is your leader. Ryan Newman on pit road unexpectedly, and you said yes, pit stops will be longer with the car of tomorrow.
You know, I drive for UPS. You want to sign for this butt whipping?
Ooh, Tony Stewart.
4 wide? You gotta be kidding me.
Tony Stewart leading Kasey Kahne by 1.2 seconds. Scott Riggs bounced off the wall, went to the pits, no caution. It's big, it's bad, it's victory red. Go to foxsports.com/Silverado for your chance to meet Dale Jr. and drive away in his all-new 07 Chevy Silverado.
You know, it's just, I'm watching these guys, it's almost impossible to pass. You just got, the guys got to just slide up the hill, way up the hill, give you a lot of room, because they just seem like they're all having trouble off the corner.
Scott Riggs lost a few laps in the pits. He's back out on track. Here's what happened to the Valvoline number 10.
That has all the look that the right front tire went soft on it. He was running fourth when that happened.
All three Evernham cars had been having a great day to that point.
I don't think this is what cars like Kurt Busch, the 2 car, Matt Kenseth was looking for, a long green run after they got off sequence. They needed to go about 30 or 40 laps, get a caution, then they would have their track position.
Looking back from Kurt Busch at Jimmie Johnson.
You know what? This reminds me of the old days. Everything about this whole weekend reminds me of the old days.
Now, Scott Riggs' day just went from bad to worse. 30 miles per hour on pit road. You talked about it at the top of the show. You only have to go down your side of the pits. But Krista, too fast on pit road. He had to come back down through for a pass through. He's going to lose a couple more laps.
And it was the busiest pit stall on pit road. You see everybody down here looking at the tires. These were the tires that came off Scott Riggs' car. The right front especially is corded. It is down to the cord showing on the right front. We had everyone, Sammy Johns with the Evernham team, Ray Evernham himself, crew members from all different teams along the backstretch down here checking out these tires.
Well, Krista, these cars are heavier on the right side than the old cars. And this is a little bit different tire than we've raced here before. It's supposed to be a little tougher, but nobody again knows just how much abuse that right side tire is going to take.
Darrell, look at now, there's old school racing right behind Tony Stewart. The 43 and the 21 battling side by side. It's just not Richard Petty and David Pearson anymore, but you know, that's pretty cool. That's old school.
No, and there's a bunch of our new fans that are saying, who are those guys anyway?
Well, if we had an hour, we'd tell you. They are the 2 winningest drivers in NASCAR history. Richard with 200 wins, and David Pearson scored a lot of his 105 wins for the Wood brothers.
The King and the Silver Fox.
That's right. There's Jamie McMurray in his Roush Fenway Ford, running in 4th place. Steve Burns.
Mike, Jamie McMurray was so disappointed after his season last year. He rededicated himself to his career. He's hired a personal trainer in Tallahassee, Florida. You see his workout routine, 2 hours every day except for race day. He wears a watch that records his heart rate, the oxygen levels, and it downloads to his trainer back in Tallahassee, who can tell him how to change his workout to improve. He also eats only organic food, so if they don't improve, it won't be for a lack of trying.
Steve, he has telemetry to his trainer.
Mike, he wears the watch. There's a chip that he plugs into his computer, and it downloads to his trainer down in Tallahassee, Florida.
I shared with him my training program. Looks like he's took a little bit of it up.
You know, I think it's 2 things. The power of positive racing, coming in with a good attitude. The other thing is conditioning. And today, we're going to find out who's in the best shape, particularly if we go for long runs, like long greens like we're going right now.
That right there shows.
Trouble turn 2, David Regan.
Caution will fly. Caution will fly.
Just saw the tail end of that one. And it'll be the 3rd caution of the day. And there may have been contact from Juan Pablo Montoya. Watch the 42 and the 6.
It looked like Montoya may have hit that apron just a little bit, shot him up the racetrack right into the left rear of the 6 car.
2 rookies having a little conversation.
Casey Mears will get the free pass.
I tell you, there's a lot of people that this caution will benefit, but to me, watching this score monitor, watching the racetrack, the person that benefits the most, our pole sitter, Jeff Gordon. He was not far from going a lap down in that 24 car.
This is perfect, really. Now we've had a long run. Now you got time to tell the crew, here's what I got to have, and I got to have it now.
McMurray not the only driver on a new regimen this year. Tony Stewart in the offseason also engaged a personal trainer. New diet, new training, and the results paying off as Stewart has led 96 of the 121 laps here so far. Matt?
Johnson running in the 8th position, still chasing the balance of the race car. Going to make some significant adjustments on the stop. Rich Gutierrez, the Jackman, making a big wedge adjustment. Also the track bar. He just says the car extremely tight.
Casey Kahne's team director, Kenny Francis, is back this week. He's making the calls. Casey said the car is just a little bit tight. They're taking air out of the right rear and going up on the track bar. They are clear. Steve.
Krista, Elliott Sadler loves his Dodge. No adjustments whatsoever. 4 tires. Terry Spalding and Tony Lunders changing the tires. Dick.
As well as Tony Stewart is running, there is still more left in his race car. He has asked for more forward bite and more side bite. Shaggy Larson, the catch can guy, he's 6'6", and he just reached forward and made that chassis adjustment all by himself.
And what he's looking for, forward bite, is the rear wheels hooking up when he under acceleration. Side bite is when they go off in the middle of the corner. He wants that whole car to feel like it's digging into the racetrack. And there you can see Kevin Harvick, the big gainer there on that race off pit road.
Third caution flag of the day at Bristol. 122 laps to go. There's a tall drink of water making that adjustment. Getting ready for the restart. Kurt Busch got blocked in his pit, came in 9th, came out 16th. We're just about set to go. How about a word from Mark Martin?
Hey guys, good job so far, but don't you think it's time to crank it up?
Fastest conveyor belt, Bristol Motor Speedway. Tony Stewart back out front, where he has been for 104 of 130 laps.
You know, one thing I noticed, Darrell, listening to a lot of that in-car audio, is the fact that you heard Dick, Steve talk about these guys not having forward bite. The rear wheels are spinning up on acceleration. You can hear it all the way up on the straightaway, halfway down the straightaway.
I believe the racing will improve. If we can get these cars in the pits a few times, make some adjustments, I believe the racing will improve. Cars already look better on this go-round, but I tell you guys, not making very many friends. It's like getting that 42 right now. He sails her off. Watch here. He ducks out like he's got a draft almost. Pours it down into. Ooh, he tried to get on the brakes. Too late. Poor old Kenny Schrader.
Kenny Schrader already feels like he's got a bullseye. But what'd you say in the pre-race about Juan?
Juan is a lonely number.
Riding there with Jeff Burton. And how about Kurt Busch, Matt? Got blocked in his pits, came in and couldn't get out.
Forward bite issues on the racetrack, Mike. Forward bite issues on pit road. He's blocked in by Kyle Petty. Those 2 seconds cost him big in track position. Now he's running back in the 16th spot. 5-time winner here. He, like so many other people, fighting a tight condition. They made significant adjustments on the last stop. We'll find out shortly here as this run progresses if it fixed it.
So the plan they had intact, it was working perfectly. You know, they got the caution. They moved up into the top 10 by staying out on that caution we had back on lap 43, and it all went away on pit road.
Montoya.
Hold it, hold it.
Here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Hold
The
it.
accordion effect is taking place. We're riding with Dale Earnhardt Jr. here.
42 got the inside wall a little bit. I don't know how bad he hurt it. We'll see how tough the nose is.
Two cars got side by side in front of Montoya. He saw an opening on the bottom, went for it, and the hole closed up.
Yeah, he did, and he did the right thing. He had a shot here under the 6. 96 comes down. They make a little contact, and Juan goes around. I don't know how much the nose looks like it's in pretty good shape. See how it jarred the front hood there.
Darrell, I believe he's having a hard time. He can't get it cranked right now or something.
Fourth caution of the day in Bristol, Tennessee.
NASCAR Nextel Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Ford. Bold moves, they happen every day. By Napa Auto Parts. Napa, get the good stuff. By Wendy's new 4-alarm spicy chicken sandwich. And by FedEx. Every day is race day.
We're under caution for the 4th time today in Bristol. Here's our Allstate Good Hands driver. Watch the number 8, Dale Earnhardt Jr. As the crash happens well in front of him, he's going to get a boost there from David Stremme. It's going to send Jr. around. That's not the good hands move. This is. Now you'll see Stremme give him a little poke here in this accordion effect crash. Watch for Tony Stewart coming. Junior fires it, grabs a gear. Here comes the leader. And he stays on the lead lap. So today's Allstate Good Hands drivers, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Allstate, official insurance sponsor of NASCAR.
Now, since it had only been about 11 laps since we went back racing, we had about 7 of our lead lap cars come to pit road, including Dale Earnhardt Jr. for 4 fresh tires.
Bobby Labonte got the free pass, so we now have 28 drivers on the lead lap. Our leader is Stewart. There's your leaderboard at the top of the screen. As we get ready to see them build speed on the restart, watching Denny Hamlin clear for 50 miles an hour. And Stewart takes off.
I just think this car shows the value of having knowledgeable teammates. You got 20, who's the teammate to 11. They're running 1st and 5th. You got the 9 and the 19 running 2nd and 3rd.
But unfortunately, Tony Stewart, Denny Hamlin's teammate, J.J. Yaley, they've had to carry that car behind the wall.
We heard Elliott Sadler loves his car, and he's just sent a message to his teammate. I need to get by, dude. I got somewhere I want to go.
There you go. So he goes by him for 2nd place.
This car does look really good.
Steve Burns.
And Mike, after that pit stop, the team told Elliott that the tire wear was great. I asked Elliott this morning how this car of tomorrow felt compared to the other car. He said, Steve, it's like going from a passenger car to an SUV. It feels very top-heavy.
I'd say that's a good analogy.
It's shorter but wider and taller with a lot more headroom and the window post in a different place. So it's probably an apt comparison. Montoya and Robbie Gordon got together just a bit, and neither one got the wall, but it was an almost.
Hey, Larry, Juan ain't going to be a lonely number very long because he's going to have a lot of people looking for him.
Not sure what J.J. Trouble turn 1. Man. Pow.
Hard lick.
Allmendinger. Caution.
Making his very first start of 2007. Had a pretty eventful qualifying lap, but it was fast enough to get in.
We just bring her down into the pit road here, Ricky. We hit pretty hard.
Now we're going to see what happens when one of those splitters gets broken, and can they repair it and get him back out? What happened here?
I think he gets a love tap here going down into the corner. Oh man, he started getting in trouble at the start finish line. He was coming down on Kenny Schrader at the start finish line, and that's a no-no.
Yeah, I mean Schrader was as low as he could go in the 21.
I don't know if AJ thought he was trying to get out of somebody's way. That looked like a failure to communicate to me. Almost looked like his spotter was telling him to the inside, but he needed to go the inside, I believe.
As he came off 4, it looked like he might have made contact with the wall and bounced out into Schrader.
Something happened
and hooked him.
Take him down the hill the way it was. Schrader's had a lot of fun today.
A few more crumbs on the Little Debbie car.
Obviously, this ain't no piece of cake.
You top that, Larry?
I can't even go there. I'm not even going to try. I'm just seeing who's coming to pit road. Some things I just don't try to follow up on.
I hung around with Jimmie Johnson way too long today.
We're seeing some of the lead lap cars more or less at the back of the pack, including Jeff Gordon, who this is about the 5th caution, and this will be about his 7th pit stop with that 24 car, just trying to continue to make adjustments. But most of the lead lap cars elect to stay out under this caution.
Allmendinger was starting his first race of 2007. He also tried to qualify for a couple the season before. Bobby Labonte gets a pit stop. And we're under caution at lap 151 for the 5th time today. The record, by the way, is 20 yellow flags here. Here's your Napa race summary as we get ready to go back to green, ending the 5th caution flag of the day. Kenny Wallace got the free pass. That gives us 29 lead lap cars as Tony Stewart brings them around. Green flag once again.
Now Ryan Newman in that blue 12 right there, I watched him right before that caution. He had run Tony Stewart back down 2 laps down after making an unscheduled stop back on lap 96, trying to get one of those laps back, and then he'd be eligible for the free pass if he can get to 1 down.
If I was Tony Stewart, I was racing a guy 2 laps down, I might just let him go on for a little while.
Get him out of my way.
Newman's got to go because being 2 laps down, he would not be the free pass car right now. And Stewart lets him go.
I think he wanted to send him a little message. Hey, dude, I'm the leader of the race.
Say, he lets him go, but he wanted to let him know.
Yeah. I think Ryan's got a really good race car right now. Tony did the right thing. I don't know if it was on purpose or not.
Yeah, because if he raced him very long side by side, that 19 and that 9 and that 26, they were going to be right there.
I haven't seen any side-by-side racing without somebody making contact, so that was what I was thinking.
Greg Biffle is in 8th place. He's the 2nd Ford in the race to his teammate Jamie McMurray at number 16.
Been watching that number 29 car. We're riding with him right now. Started back in 40th position, just been nice and steady, trying to stay out of trouble, and he's made his way to the top 10 and 9th.
Mike, I got to tell you, I drove that car yesterday that Jack Roush and the boys been sent up here, and Jimmy Finning set it up. And if their cars drive anything like that car did, they're going to be tough today. I was so impressed with how well that car drove and handled.
Lapping past Robbie Gordon. Gordon had put the bumper to Montoya just 2 laps ago as Montoya roughed him up a little bit by getting around. Here comes McMurray hunting 3rd place. Gets it.
Oh, trouble. Turn 2, guys. The 6 around again.
David Regan. Everybody scatters to miss him.
Caution will fly. Good news for Ryan Newman. He gets one of those laps back.
We're okay.
The hard way by driving by the leader.
Well, it's early in the race, and Tony didn't need to be racing Ryan Newman right now. So that was a good move on both of them's part.
No, there's a time to be aggressive, and Ryan Newman picked the right time. He was the first car in line on the inside where the lapped cars go. He got past Stewart and got one of his laps back.
Don't race people that can't beat you. And right now he can't beat him. When he gets back on the lead lap, that'll be different.
The free pass car will be Sterling Marlin, and that'll put 30 cars on the lead lap. Let's ride with Kyle Petty.
Spin in front of you, spin in front of you. Low. There you go. Good job.
There was a car right behind David Regan, but hard to see if there was any contact.
Mike
not so hard here.
In the 49 car. There's a lot of them just barely got by that.
You know how I can tell these cars aren't going very fast? You can spin out and not hit anything.
Which normally doesn't happen at Bristol.
Nope.
Let's see what's spinning around down at the Thunder Valley Motel and Catfish Farm.
Got a lot of noise down here watching the race with Jeff. And Jeff, we talked about competitive balance in this race. The new car, slower pace, does that make for better racing?
Well, I think it doesn't matter. Speed's not an issue here. It's how these guys do getting around the racetrack, and I think that's the key thing right now is whether or not they're going to be able to go side by side. It looks to me like they're starting to get a little bit of upper groove coming in, but so far, these guys still do not look very smooth. I mean, I think more pit stops. Darrell had a really good point. The more they can work on the car, these cars should get better the further we go.
Tony Stewart has dominated. There have been 2 other previous Bristol races when he's led, but hasn't won. Early action, you see in the 17, Matt Kenseth bumping into Dale Jarrett. Dale Jarrett not happy about it.
Hard lick right there about 38. Yeah,
hey,
he's definitely upset.
What can you do for me? You can knock me out of the race. And then moments ago, Juan Pablo Montoya coming off that 5th place finish of last week, trying to squeeze into a place, and Darrell had pointed it out moments before. He's riding a little recklessly out there and gets into Tony Raines and brings out another caution flag. Just a couple of other thoughts to keep an eye. Kasey Kahne trying to crack that top 25. Larry and Darrell Mike talked about Dodges and Evernham. He's run kind of a steady, cautious race. I guess coming in, had to drive with a certain sense of urgency, but cautiously.
Well, it is Bristol. You got to get up on the wheel, and he needed to have a really strong race. This guy here, Ray Evernham, he knows how to get to victory lane. He's been here several times with Jeff Gordon being a crew chief there, so I'm sure he's up there along with Kenny Francis right now, back kind of like business as usual for the Evernham group with all their crew chiefs back in place. Now Ray can kind of help Kenny and help these guys get up through there.
Well, let's take a look at the Dodge Chargers that are doing well. Elliott Sadler currently running 2nd, and you see Kurt Busch, who of course has won 5 of the last 10 Bristol races, 15th at the moment.
And Elliott Sadler has won a race here before, so he knows what he's doing also.
Regan Smith running for the 01 car, and Mark Martin, who's watching this race, the points leader coming in for Bobby Ginn Chevrolet, a lap down and really hasn't been around the front of the pack.
Well, it's his first Cup race of the year, really, and I think a lot of pressure on this young man. But the key thing for him right now, if he can finish, just survive today and keep him up there in the points as far as the owner is concerned, that's his main mission right now.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
It's a DW. I don't know. You know, we named all of our cars, and I think Avenger. If back in the day, I'd have loved to have had a car named the Avenger, wouldn't you?
Oh, I would have loved to have that, but I mean, we had to settle for names like, Kermit and
Miss Piggy,
Miss Piggy, and then Betty, but the key thing about it was, remember we had 007 because of how fast you ran at Charlotte at one time. But I think all of these things being said have to do with drivers being comfortable enough to be able to name a car. Because I know there's a few of them you had, we can't say that on television, can we?
No, they weren't all pretty names.
No.
Well, wasn't it Tony Stewart, though, who coming in called like a fast flying brick is what he called driving the new car? He's dominated so far.
He's looked really strong so far as far as Tony Stewart. He was great in practice, and he's still great here today. Mike?
I've said it before, I'll say it again. You put wheels on a cockroach, Stewart will find a way to win with it. And he has dominated this race thus far. He's led 141 of the 167 laps. But Elliott Sadler draws ever closer. Jamie McMurray is the fastest Ford. Kasey Kahne, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Jimmie Johnson, Greg Biffle, and Kevin Harvick.
I wonder if Juan wouldn't possibly rough up Tony Stewart, would he?
No, and I didn't see that accident with Raines as being his fault. The one with David Reagan before, maybe. But this being a tough place to get around for any of the rookies.
Don't forget the old common denominator factor, though.
Oh, yeah. And NASCAR pretty much reminded Montoya in the 42, Robbie Gordon the 7, have a good clean restart, because right now Robbie Gordon's 1 lap down, Montoya is 3 down in that 42 car.
It makes me feel good when they do stuff like that. It means they're watching the same race we are.
That's Montoya's three laps behind because he couldn't get his car started after spinning out in the back straightaway. So Stewart has a lapped car separating him from second place Elliott Sadler. Not for long. Here comes Sadler under Montoya.
I believe Sadler's got something for Tony when he gets to him, guys. Didn't he win a race here 4 or 5 years ago?
Driving a 21 car, beat the 43 car, like what Mike talked about a while ago.
Exciting race.
Our first race at Bristol with NASCAR on Fox.
Let's see the gap, and indeed it shrinks a little bit between Stewart and Sadler.
We did have about 7 or 8 of our lead lap cars, again, cars at the back of the pack, come to pit road, still trying to make adjustments on their car, including pole sitter Jeff Gordon.
131 miles an hour into the corner here.
And you can see how long it takes all the way up on the straightaway before he even think about 100% throttle, only for about 2 or 3 seconds.
That's 650 feet. That's all that is. Not much straightaway.
Pretty good bit of use of the brake getting in these corners. 36 degrees of banking, more banking than at Daytona or Talladega.
And Larry, you do use a lot more brake here than we used to. I'm not sure why, but I noticed driving it, you use a lot more brake. guess because you're going 130 mile an hour down the straightaway.
Riding with Tony Raines here, looking back at Ryan Newman, got one of those laps back. Now he's trying to work his way up there to become the first car lap down to get that free pass, and he'd be back on the lead lap.
This is for position for 35th. Daylight savings time came early this year, and so does Fox Saturday Baseball, coming at you in April with lots of great matchups.
Jimmie Johnson, that 48 car, just had a pretty close call with Robbie Gordon over in the 7 coming off turn 2 that last lap.
Yeah, Jimmy moved him out of the way, and Robbie would like to have gotten back to him, but he wasn't fast enough. Jimmy gives him a little shot. Robbie gives Robbie Gordon in the 7 car a little shot off the corner over here, mainly because he just felt like he was holding him up. Gets behind him right here, rides him down in the corner, gets a little run underneath of him, gives him a little toot there.
It's what we used to call the chrome horn. Of course, they're not chrome anymore. Matt?
Jimmie Johnson running in the 7th position. His car still free on exit. That's one concern they're going to try to work on the next stop. Another thing, they told Jimmy that he was actually going too slow. He's on the first pit stall off turn 2. They told him he can actually pick up his pace just a little bit. He was at least 5 miles an hour below the pit road speed.
Yeah, it's just such a fine line here. We've seen so much pit road speeding penalties. That's the last thing you want at a racetrack like this. You want to get right against it, but do not go over it. And NASCAR actually gives these guys a 5 mile an hour buffer. Pit road speed 30 miles an hour. They will give them up to 35.
Tell you one thing I'm seeing I haven't seen here in a long time. I see a bunch of guys trying to move up high, trying to ride the rim a little bit. I haven't seen that here in years.
Wait till August, because they're going to dig this track up and put a progressive banking in it, so the short way around may not be the fast way around when they re-concrete this track.
I helped start the race today, and when it's over with, I'm going to help tear it down.
NASCAR Nextel Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by the auto parts experts at AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. By Toyota, moving forward. By Hamlin, introducing Hamlin with new deposit shield. Protect precious metal. And by Coca-Cola. Thanks for drinking.
Tony Stewart leading Elliott Sadler by only a quarter of a second now, with Jamie McMurray 3rd, Casey Kahne 4th, Kyle Busch rounds out the top 5. The top Toyota in the race right now, Brian Vickers. He's our Toyota top performer. Dave Blaney and Jeremy Mayfield in the 36, making his first Nextel Cup start of the year. Allmendinger and Jarrett behind the wall out of the race.
Mike, observation. I believe if you try to drive this car like you drove the old car, the car will not handle. This car, you've got to get out of the gas. It won't roll the middle like you hear so many drivers talk about. You got to let it roll the middle on its own. And I don't, some of the guys are charging in the corners too hard and getting the car up the hill.
We're hearing, Darrell, about a lot of drivers who have a big push. Kurt Busch is one of those. He restarted 15th and has fallen to 30th, lap down.
Yeah, I believe that big old wing on the back right there, what you're looking at with those big side plates on it, that would be the thing I think would create a lot of problems for you as far as there's nothing you can do with it. So if your car is pushing, you're stuck with what you got. And here we go, lead change.
Elliott Sadler, that 19 car, took advantage of Tony Stewart wiggling down in 3 and 4 in the 20. He's going to take the lead in this 19.
Tony picked up a little debris, hadn't he, Larry? And he's a little loose off of 2 over there, which is kind of normal here.
And that's what somewhat got him in trouble in 3 and 4 when Elliott took advantage of it. He picked the throttle up. The car got loose with him. Elliott drove under him.
We only hear of one driver talking about his car being loose, and that is Matt Kenseth. While Jamie McMurray has a problem that may be a little more serious. His driver cooling system has stopped cooling.
Raced here a long time without one. Power steering, didn't have power steering, didn't have side view mirrors, didn't have headrest.
Let's talk about Kenseth in his 17 car. He's running 11th spot. We talked about unknowns coming into this race, things that we did not have answers to. Chris Devoto was telling us during break, right now Matt Kenseth just cooling it because his engine is not cooling it up to 240 degrees. The way these cars are cooled is much different than the old car, and that's going to be a learning experience, especially on a hot day in a short track where you don't have a lot of airflow.
They'll get another such lesson next week at Martinsville. Lead change again. Sadler went up the hill. Stewart took advantage, and now they're going to get into a big pack of traffic. Sterling Marlin just ahead. Kenny Wallace. Ricky Rudd.
That might have been a smart move on Elliott's part. Who would you move out of the way first for?
An orange 20.
Yeah. Big orange.
That's right.
So Marlin's going to go a lap down in the 14. And now Kenny Wallace, both those drivers earlier got the free pass to get back on the lead lap. And then the 88 of Ricky Rudd. Rudd is one of only 3 drivers still racing today that participated in the first of the 50 consecutive sellouts here at Bristol. The other 2, Kyle Petty and Mark Martin.
And he's one of the few drivers in the field that has driven the last 3 generations of cars. We had another major body change headed into 1981 where the cars were downsized. He drove both of those cars, and now the first race with the car tomorrow.
Well, so far I haven't seen any much difference in the race itself. It's pretty much a Bristol race. We've seen over the last couple of years here long green runs, and we've seen that today. Watch him work his wheel, man. He is on it. Not on the gas, on the wheel.
You just never get a break here, DW, especially this kind of weather we're having.
Third place teammates, 26 McMurray and 16 Biffle. Now there are 5 teams at Roush Fenway Racing, and they got the word this week from NASCAR that by 2010 the NASCAR mandated cap of 4 teams under.
Be patient, we get around this 7.
4 teams under one ownership. That will be in place for 2003. So Jack Roush, John Henry, and that group have a couple of seasons to get down to 4 full-time Cup teams.
This is something they gave warning to the owners about 2 years ago, so that's almost given them about 5 to 6 years.
Go to work now.
I tell you, there's a car that's running pretty good, Larry. That 16 car. He's been easing his way up through here. And he's sitting here putting a challenge on Jamie McMurray for 4th place.
And Darryl, you talked about old school again. We keep going back to it. His crew chief, Pat Tryson, he won the race here with Elliott Sadler back in 2001. Pat knows what it takes to win.
Actually, they're racing for 3rd place. Jamie's running 3rd, and Greg's running 4th. And I think Jamie said, "You faster than I am? Go on, teammate." That's teamwork right there.
That's it, bud. Log you some laps now. 19 is 2nd place. The 20 is the leader. You're beating.
And Larry, you know, you mentioned Pat Tryson. Had a chance to talk to him this morning, and he was making some minor adjustments to that 16 car for Biffle. And Darryl, going back to what we keep talking about, he was focusing on one thing and one thing only: forward bite. He felt like he could give up a little bit through the center if he could just hook that 16 car up for Greg Biffle off the corners. And right now, it's looking pretty good.
Well, and I think Darryl touched on that a while ago, Jeff. You know, your car has to rotate or turn through the middle of the corner. If you start trying to tighten it up where it hooks up too good under acceleration, you're going to have that car where it's not turning in the middle.
Kurt Busch making an unfinished pit stop. 211 lap complete in the Food City 500. Greg Biffle has taken 2nd place away from Elliott Sadler, and he closed right up on Tony Stewart as Stewart's number 20 had some trouble dealing with the traffic. Mayfield in the wall, turn 2, comes off kind of slowly off the corner, and he may make it around to the pits without a caution flag, but with Probably a flat right front tire.
Yeah, we have such a straight line of cars, he can't get to the bottom of the racetrack. There's just not a break right now.
Real close.
Still under green. Scott Riggs earlier hit the outside wall and had to make his way to pit road without a caution. And again, Mayfield could not make the turn. Here is Biffle on Stewart for the lead, and caution waves. Just as Jeremy Mayfield finally got down to the track apron in his Bill Davis Camry, caution came out.
Hard to say what happened there. He certainly got sent up the hill. I don't know if he did on his own or with help.
I didn't see a car near him, Darrell. It kind of had the look of, if not contact, a right front tire. But it will put us under caution for the 7th time today.
I tell you who did not want to see that caution flag while we were at break just about 12 or 13 laps ago. Kurt Busch, whose car really went away on him, made a green flag stop on lap 213. He's now 37th and 4 laps down in that 2 car. Well, I'd say it'll be feeding time on pit road because it's been a while since lap 121, Matt, since all these leaders were on pit road, Matt.
Jimmie Johnson telling Chad Canals the car is both tight and loose. He said, no worries. We've got some magic in here waiting for you. That magic is both the wedge and track bar adjustment. He hit pit road in 8th. Krista.
Well, Kasey Kahne said his car is starting to turn better, but it takes so long. So they're going to have to free it up a little bit more than they thought they would. They're going to go up a round and a half on the track bar. Steve.
Krista, very small adjustment for Elliott Sadler. Track bar adjustment. They want to make sure they get 2 cans of gas in that 19, Dick.
Well, Tony Stewart has had this day go all his way, both on the racetrack and in it. The crew has been flawless, as has Smoke. He has had the fastest car all day, has led by far the most laps. Another good pit stop, and Stewart is out of here.
I just saw a great act of sportsmanship right there, or survival. Pick one. Jeff Gordon was one of the last cars on the lead lap. He was coming into his pits as Stewart was finishing up, and instead of coming in and blocking Tony, he waited for Stewart to leave before he pulled in.
Yeah, there's a race off pit road. One car we don't see there, Greg Biffle, actually lost 2 or 3 positions on his stop.
Getting set for the restart, Casey Mears got the free pass on this, the 7th caution of the day. Tony Stewart, Elliott Sadler, Kasey Kahne, Greg Biffle haul them off into turn 1. With Mears, 21 cars on the lead lap. And only 5 cars in the garage. Less than expected for this stage of the race as we close in on halfway.
And Mike, why do we always say the cream will rise to the top? All you got to do is look at your top 10 or 12 cars there. They all come out of the same stable.
The usual suspects.
Talked about Kevin Harvick a while ago. Started way back in the 40th position. Just drove by Jimmie Johnson. He's moved up there into the 7th position. It's been a good racetrack for Kevin Harvick over the years.
Denny Hamlin battling Jimmie Johnson. That's for 8th place. Jeff Burton behind them. We're 14 laps from halfway, Chris.
We've had NASCAR Nextel Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Allstate, official insurance sponsor of NASCAR. Yeah, Mike, we've had 6 leaders, 8 lead changes. The average speed has picked up just a bit. Mike was talking about Jimmie Johnson, who's trying to win his 3rd straight race. It's happened once before in his career, but he's only finished 3rd. His best finish at Bristol, running a steady race here today.
I think that's what you've got to do. You've got to be patient. You've got to understand that we're not even halfway. We're getting close, but we're not even halfway yet. That's when you got to pick it up.
His teammate, pole sitter Jeff Gordon, has made some adjustments. It's been that kind of a day. Led the first 6 laps, then running 5th by lap 28. Complained of being too loose, dropped as low as 27th. Gordon recently complaining of being too tight. Some of those adjustments in the pits, he had to work with the new car.
He had to work with it. We've seen the catch can man do some track bar adjustments. We've also seen the rear tire carrier also making adjustments on this car, but it's getting better as we go deeper in this race.
Elliott Sadler won his first career race here 6 years ago. That was in a Ford, now in a Dodge, running right behind Tony Stewart with Casey Kahne right behind him.
And those Evernham Dodges look so solid, but this is a place where Elliott loves to race, and right now he's hungry, and I think he can actually see the start-finish line is a victory lane right in front of him. He wants it bad.
And Mike, Larry, and Darrell will keep an eye to it. Kyle Busch currently running 5th.
Thanks, Chris. A lot of action here in the midst of this pack as drivers are trying to set themselves up for a long run and not fall to the back of the pack and risk falling off the lead lap. There's Stewart, there's Sadler, Kahne, Biffle, Busch, and McMurray. Your first half dozen are within 5 seconds of one another. It's about twice that distance back to Dale Jr. here behind the 12 of Ryan Newman.
What a nice recovery he's made. Remember, back on lap 137, he spun on the backstretch, got the car going, stayed in front of leader Tony Stewart. He has worked his way up to the 13th position. Nice recovery by this 18.
Matt?
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. riding along with driver 8. You can see his progression's been back and forth, fighting back from that early spin. He said the car is just really loose on entry, but his biggest issue, like we've talked about most of today for a lot of guys, forward bite. They made some air pressure changes on the last stop.
One thing that creates that wheel spin is these guys have got a lot of gear in these cars, a really, really low gear. And it takes a lot to hook up 800 horsepower to rear tires.
Yeah, 557 gear.
Our second place car, Elliott Sadler. Remember earlier when they had a loose wheel and Sadler had a fear for the condition of the wheel studs and if they would hold the succeeding wheels on well. Steve?
Yeah, Mike, Elliott Sadler, that was way back on lap 37. He does fear he has a loose wheel. The team is up on the wall. The tire changers, Terry Spalding and Tony Lunders, told crew chief Josh Brown that they did get the tires, the wheels tight, but Elliott Sadler gives up track position to hit pit road.
It's going to take him off the lead lap. Did they change that left side or just tighten it up with the air gun?
Looked like to me he just hit the lug nut.
Yeah, it did me too.
They told me it was forward tight, so call for left sides only.
Saying that only 4 of the 5 lug nuts were tight. Now, under green, Sadler can come down his side of pit lane and re-enter the racetrack. He is doing that. Some drivers have elected to go all the way around as they are required to under caution when making green flag stops.
Just saw Greg Biffle in that 16 car. He just drove by Elliott's teammate Casey Kahne in the 9, went back to second spot where he was running before the caution came out. He lost a couple of spots on his pit stop.
You want to get the door?
Come in.
Hello.
Domino's. And congratulations to our Domino's hot lap winner, the first driver to cross the start finish line on lap 250. 60% of you got it right. Tony Stewart. Thanks to all who participated. You're automatically entered to win the Ultimate Fan Experience at the Michigan race this August.
The old one car has a problem.
Left front flag, guys.
That all started here on the front straightaway.
About 4 or 5 laps ago.
Leave on 3. Come on down, 4,200.
Good call by the spotter. Pit coming out of turn 2. Get out of the pits coming to turn 3. What's that going to do to that splitter, Larry? That's right down on the rim.
Well, you can see it rubbing. It's already broke that brace right there. You can see that brace right there on the left front. It's already broken.
Gas guy slipped up the back of the car. Gas guy slipped the back of the car. Don't drive through more than 3. Look left, right on your side. Right on your side, left sides only. Lift up the back of the car.
Here,
Get the gas can.
Kevin Mannion telling the gas guys we don't need much gas. The big thing is to get this car lifted up where the jackman can get his jack under. Great call by Kevin Mannion, giving his guys some direction there.
While this was happening, Elliott Sadler made another pit stop. Steve?
And Mike, this time they worked on the right side tires. Elliott Sadler is so disappointed in that race car. He's had a great car, but they've had to pit twice under green.
Listen, when you got a problem, they came in only changed lefts. I don't know why, but I would have changed all 4 tires and got that behind me.
If you've got a vibration, you might as well go ahead and do 4 and just take your lift.
It's so confusing to the driver. He thinks he knows which one it is, but he's usually wrong.
Looking back at, we were looking back at Robbie Gordon's car, and a lot of bumps and scrapes on his Ford. Battle here for 5th place. Jamie McMurray and Denny Hamlin were just past halfway in Bristol on Fox.
You need to be ready for anything.
Tony Stewart's opened up 4 seconds on Greg Biffle. With Kyle Busch, Kasey Kahne, or Kyle Busch, and now Denny Hamlin has just taken 4th from Kasey Kahne.
Jeff Burton's kind of backing up what I'm saying about how you drive these cars. Listen to him. He's out of the throttle forever. Plays with it a little bit off the corner, shoots down the straightaway. You got to let this car work. You got to let it roll by itself. You can't hurry it.
He's got company, Darrell. Matt Kenseth is right there on him.
I think Burton's one of those kind of guys. He doesn't really care. He'll let him go. He's sitting in there. Look how relaxed he is. And that's how you got to be good here and finish well.
Darrell, you've been making note of team cars, and I look at Jeff Burton, who started back in 29th, his teammate Kevin Harvick in 40th, Clint Boyer in the 07 18th, all 3 of those cars in the top 10 now.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. just got past Jimmie Johnson. Carl Edwards, yesterday's winner, a part of that battle as well.
We played some audio earlier as we see Tony Stewart putting Casey Mears a lap down here in the 25 car. We played some audio. We were at break. Carl Edwards told his crew chief Bob Osborne, just like a big old dirt track. I'm liking what I feel here.
Clint Boyer having a good run. 2 of the 3 make that all 3 Childress cars in the top 10 right now. Matt?
Like I talked to Gil Martin this morning, he felt like in the past, Clint's biggest problem here, he was too passive, meaning that he was just too conservative, and then people would rough him up. Yesterday in the Busch race, he had a very solid day, but they're telling him, go a little easier on entry. Don't try to drive the car quite as hard. And Darrell, you've heard it so many times, when you go slower and a little easier, you pick up time on the stopwatch, and that's what's happening with the 07.
Yeah, drivers don't understand, Matty. Slow down and go faster. And if you back off a little bit earlier and let the car do the work and don't rush it, you'll get a better lap time.
Matt Kenseth continues to march toward the front, getting past Kasey Kahne. That's for 7th position.
I think this is one of those cars that every time he hits pit road, Robbie Reiser and that group, they keep making the right adjustments on this thing, and are, swept the races here back in August. In fact, he's won the last 2 August Cup races here.
How about the car right behind him, Kasey Kahne? Krista?
Kasey Kahne has been fading fast. On that last stop, they wanted to free it up. They think they may have over-adjusted. They went up maybe a little bit too much. He's hoping the car will come back in, tighten up like it did on that last run. But right now, he's all the way back in 8th. And something Kasey said about these cars, he said, they look like a half car, half truck. That's what he told me earlier this week. He said, quote, they look weird.
That's why I wrote a story about COT, car or truck. It's kind of hard to tell. They got half and half.
New 2nd place car is Kyle Busch. Now he's right now running about 4 seconds behind Stewart and a second ahead of Greg Biffle. We listened in on Kyle and his team. Spin. Kasey Kahne spins off turn 4. And caution is out for the 8th time.
And it was not that many laps ago. We had all 3 Evernham cars up there running in the top 7 or 8. Scott Riggs had his problem. Elliott Sadler has had his lug stud issue. And now here's the 9 car. Remember, this car came in here outside of the top 35 in owner points.
Got a left rear tire cut down. I'm telling you, I believe that splitter could be causing some of these tires to get cut out. See, the left rear is flat. I don't know if I don't think Robbie had anything to do with that, but the left rear is down. I believe that splitter sticks out past the bodywork some, and I think that's causing some of these tires to get cut down. Looks like they made contact here, guys. See this little bit of smoke?
Yeah, it may. Remember, they don't run an inner line or a safety shield in the left side tires here. If indeed when he and the 07 got together, it could have knocked the valve stem off. Goes right to the rim.
Only 3 cars are out of this race. May be tough for Kahne to rebound. If he does not move up into the top 35 in owner points today, it means he would have to qualify on time next week at Martinsville.
Well, it's been about 50 or 60 laps, Matt, since the leaders were on pit road. They're all there again.
And Scott Miller is going to reverse the adjustments they made on the last stop for Jeff Burton. Burton said the forward bite on exit improved, but it made the car so much tighter. That's why they're backing up on their air pressure changes. Krista?
For Matt Kenseth, it's the same problem, different adjustments, still loose. Last time it was track bar, this time it's wedge. Steve.
Krista, Kevin Harvick down on pit road. He said, told crew chief Todd Berrier, the car is turning good. It's really turning better. All I need is a little more forward bite. Dick.
Crew chief Greg Zipadelli asked Tony Stewart how his car was. Stewart said the side bite's better, the forward bite's better. He paused and said, I like my car, but the front end of that car is well pushed in. Stewart has hit somebody, and I don't think this time it was the pace car.
Now that seemed to happen very early in the race, Dick. The front end damage to Stewart's car. There's the race off pit road, and once again Casey Mears will be the beneficiary of the free pass.
I'm getting more and more nervous though about the 20-car pit stops. I mean, yeah, they're having great stops. They're winning the battle off pit road, but what's happening? Jeff Gordon is pitting right in front of him. The last 2 stops, just as Tony Stewart was about to pull out, Jeff Gordon was pulling in. I hope that don't end up biting that 20-car late in this race.
It won't unless they become competitors. Right now, they're just they're not racing each other.
Damage control on the number 9 of Kasey Kahne. Let's go down to our Ford Fusion car and Jeff Hamlin.
Mike, Darrell and Larry have been talking about the splitter and what it's been doing as far as the race cars are concerned and possible the tires. If you notice this straight edge from the bumper going down, all of a sudden you can see where this splitter kind of comes out. So you can imagine if you're rolling along and all of a sudden a tire comes in contact, you can see there is actually an air gap, a gap, daylight right in here between the bumper and the tire. But look down on the splitter, contact. Easy for this splitter to actually get into a tire, knock that air valve, the valve core off, or even cut the tire, especially when it's hot, low air pressure. These tires are very susceptible to be getting cut. So this splitter could be creating some of the problem we're seeing on the racetrack. Darrell, you've been commenting about it all day.
I firmly believe that's what's cut down a number of these left rear tires.
Well, we talked about unintended consequences, and this may be one of the splitter design on the car of tomorrow.
It's a great idea, and it works great if you don't make contact.
Tony Stewart, he's had this damage on the front of his car really since the early part of the race. But I think that's one good thing about where you take the air in now. You take it in at the bottom just above that splitter. Up there is pretty much just part of the nose. I know in the Busch race yesterday, they have the O type of cooling where it's cooled a lot through the top of the nose. A lot of guys had cooling problems in that race when they caved the nose in.
All the Chevys in this race are the Chevy Impala body style. When was the last time an Impala won a NASCAR race? Stay tuned. We have just restarted with a new leader, Kyle Busch. Trouble for Tony. Dick Berggren.
On the radio, Mike, and said no fuel pressure. The fuel pump or the cable leading to the fuel pump has failed. So far they have been unable to resolve the problem, and Stewart is going down laps.
All right, here's the system they run. It's called the Waterman system. It doesn't have that mechanical fuel pump on the right-hand side of the block. The fuel pump is actually in the trunk, and it's driven by a cable off of the back of the oil pump. We've seen several problems. In fact, the 20 car had trouble with theirs at Daytona the minute the track opened for practice. And Kyle Busch, who's leading this race in the 5, actually had problems in a Busch race with the system.
It's kind of new. It's a long cable that runs from the back up to the front, and they've had some issues with it.
And the why our team's going to this, obviously much safer. The fuel pump on a GM car right there on the right front. I don't know how many times when you hit a hard lick on the right side, you'd see a fire because the fuel pump got knocked off.
And remember, Chevrolet's new engine doesn't even have a fuel pump.
Yeah, they have to use the Waterman system. That's a brand name.
Well, all I know is that system is called a new game up here with our leaders, because Tony Stewart, who pretty much led 257 laps, is still sitting on pit road.
Remember last spring, Tony Stewart led almost the same number of laps, but finished 12th after the handling went away on the final stop. He is still on pit road, while out on the racetrack, Denny Hamlin is catching Kyle Busch for the lead.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin said, don't worry, coach, I'll pick up the slack.
Now Jason Shapiro has climbed underneath the back end of the car, removed the cable. The cable is fine. So it's something other than that, that as the work goes on, Tony Stewart continues to lose laps. He will not win today, despite having the best car in the field.
Well, what happened to Kyle Busch with his Waterman system? And we're speculating as we got a battle for the lead. Tony Stewart's teammate, the 11, going to drive by Kyle Busch. He'll take the lead. But the cable don't necessarily always break. It has a hex that goes in the back of the oil pump, and I've heard that hex is maybe not near deep enough and will actually come out just a little bit. Again, we're just speculating based on problems we've seen in the past.
Yeah, some guy named Waterman right now is walking the floor, maybe.
After a 43rd at Daytona, Stewart has finished 8th, 7th, and 2nd. But he'll be deep in the running order today.
Today's race on Fox is sponsored by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. By Wrangler, makers of Wrangler Jeans Company. New fits, new comfort, new styles. By Lowe's, proud home of Jimmie Johnson and Team 48. And by Domino's Double Zero Deal, the official pizza of NASCAR. Domino's race summary, 200 laps to go, 8 leaders, 10 different lead changes, and Tony Stewart, 257 laps led, dominating moments ago, having problems with his fuel pump or the cable leading to the fuel pump. And in our Hollywood hotel, Jeff Hammond has pulled a part out of his cutaway car to explain.
Yeah, this is the Waterman as its setup goes here. This is the fuel pump that Larry McReynolds was talking about that mounts on top of the check valve area. And as you can see, here is the cable. And this is what turns this off of the oil pump. As it turns, it spins and actually pulls the fuel up, sends it down to the fuel line just like a normal fuel pump. They believe that possibly this hex, Dick Bergeron was talking about it, this little end right here, if it got rounded, this cable will not spin properly, again, losing fuel pressure. This is what the team is working on right now, trying to figure out, you know, what has happened here as far as the losing fuel pressure. They'll start tracing it all the way back.
Knocked Tony Stewart out of the lead. Let's get back to the track with Mike, Darrell, and Larry.
Denny Hamlin's lead 0.4 of a second over Kyle Busch. Then the Fords of Greg Biffle and Matt Kenseth. Chevy of Kevin Harvick, the Ford of Jamie McMurray. Clint Boyer, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmie Johnson in Chevys, and Carl Edwards Ford. That is your top 10. Earlier, Darrell, we asked about the last Impala to win a race at NASCAR's top level.
Well, I don't remember. It's maybe it was 1960, maybe?
63.
63.
Now, Rex White, you were talking about earlier, was the last driver to win the championship in an Impala.
Right.
Chevrolet.
Right.
Wendell Scott of Danville, Virginia, scored his first and only win in what's now the Nextel Cup Series at Jacksonville, Florida, December 1st, 1963. The points counted toward the 64 season. He ran most of his career in a Ford, but on that day, he drove a Chevy Impala, won the race.
Wow. And Mike, you and I were talking before our race today. Bob Welborn actually won a race in an Impala during Daytona Speedweeks 1959. It was one of the qualifying races, but back then that was actually a points race.
Well, you know, we raced a Caprice in the late 70s. We built a Caprice and raced that. I don't think they make those anymore.
No. Back straight away, Newman.
Caution's out, back.
Caution number 9.
Martin Truex Jr., the one car, was actually involved in that as well. But Ryan Newman in 12, the most damage. There you see the damage on the rear of Martin Truex Jr.
And on the front of Ryan Newman, who's trying to fight his way back to the lead lap.
Yeah, he's got water coming. Larry, there's another radiator busted too. You see the water run out the front of it.
Radiator's leaking.
Awfully hard lick to the front of that 12 car.
Let's see what happens here, starting with the former Busch Series champ Martin Truex in the 1.
Looked like he actually got a little help. I think that was may have been Mike Bliss in the 49. I'm not sure. We'll get another view of it.
Well, the one car had a problem earlier, don't forget. Had a cut down tire.
And that was Mike Bliss in the 49. And there you see Ryan Newman in the 12. He's going to get a pretty, just goes up and skims the wall, but I think lick into the back of that car. You see Casey Mears, just again, the accordion. We've seen that the entire race today get spun around.
I guess Newman could not check up as Truex slowed almost to a stop.
He wasn't really sure which way that the one was going to go.
Newman has gone to the garage. As you watch it from Jeff Burton's angle, we're under the 9th caution of the day at lap 310.
Welcome back to Bristol Motor Speedway, along with Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers, Denny Hamlin, leading Kyle Busch and Greg Biffle with 186 laps to go. Jeff Gordon, who sat on the pole, trying to work his way back into things, sitting 13th, and he's had to make some adjustments all day.
A lot of adjustments. Watch the overflow guy reach back, make a track bar adjustment on this pit stop. You can see long reach right there because that causes new wing. Then on the next stop, he comes in. Watch the catch can man. This time he reaches up, sticks the wrench in the wedge hole, but this time the tire carrier, he makes an adjustment like that. And Mike and Larry, you guys were talking about this at the beginning of the race, how much of adjustments you have to make because this new car tomorrow.
They've had to make adjustments to make their adjustments
because of that tall wing on the back of the car instead of the blade spoiler that we've been used to.
Now, it had not been that long since all of our leaders were to pit road, about 20 laps ago. But we had about 5 of the lead lap cars, including Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Casey Mears, David Jimmie, and Jeff Burton, all come to pit road here on about lap 311.
Looks like Tony got his car repaired, Mike. He's back out.
Stewart's back in the race.
23 laps down.
Brian Vickers gets the free pass. As we get ready to race, I want to remember a loyal member of our Fox team for many, many years. Started out with ESPN, working on our in-car camera placements, working with sponsors, working with crew chiefs and teams. Lynn Jeffers lost his battle with brain cancer over the winter. His wife Marilyn's here. His son Andy has taken his spot as stage manager and working with the onboard teams and to them and Lynn's other son JJ. You're in our thoughts and prayers every time we come to Bristol. So in memory of Lynn Jeffers, let's crank it up on this restart. Laps to go here in Thunder Valley. The leader's Denny Hamlin. In second place is Kyle Busch. Drivers want adjustments. They want wedge. They want air pressure. But we listened in as Kyle Busch asked for something else.
I need a banana. We'll find you one.
All of us drivers, we always eat bananas for the potassium because we cramp up.
Steve Burns.
And Mike Joy, ask and ye shall receive. That is exactly what they've done. They have got a banana down here on ice for Kyle Busch. He is cramping up. Conditioning is a factor. You guys talked about the heat on the last pit stop. Kevin Harvick also asked for water. Very high.
Darrell, one thing I've noticed, you talked about this a couple of hundred laps ago with these cars. Some of the guys had started making a second groove work. One thing that I noticed, David Stremme, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon, all cars that made stops on that last caution, they worked the high side to get around about 4 or 5 cars.
Yeah, it seems like the upper groove. I think they're forced up there. These cars, you overdrive them, they seem to run up the hill. So I think that's really made for better racing here as we go along because it's actually put some rubber up there for a change.
I get a feeling cars like Jimmie Johnson in that 48, they're maybe regretting they didn't come to pit road on that last caution after being out there for 25 laps on those tires, because those new tires are prevailing.
Yeah, I don't think I'd have taken a chance right now for that. You got Tony, you know, with problems, and you want to get a good finish here. You got the number of cars that you really want to outrun and beat today.
Second place changes hands. Greg Biffle gets underneath Kyle Busch. And here comes Elliott Sadler, not for position, because Sadler is laps down, 4 laps down in 30th place. Tony Stewart is 23 laps back. He's one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, but with little chance today.
Let me tell you, Larry, that car, the 24 there, Jeff Gordon, he started this day off. I wouldn't have given him a prayer of a chance of finishing the top 10. But right now he's sitting here running in 11th. They've come in the pits every time the cautions come out. And here they are. They got a pretty good looking old car now.
We've had 9 cautions. He's had 9 pit stops.
Denny Hamlin has opened up a 1.2 second margin now on Greg Biffle. Dick?
In his victory interview following yesterday's Busch race, Carl Edwards said Denny Hamlin was going to be the guy to beat here today. His practices have been awfully fast. They had troubles with the car. They dial it in, and right now it's just a tick 3. But other than that, it's perfect. And he has asked for a yellow sports drink on the next pit stop.
And Dick, this is really not surprising. I know he was a little disappointed, maybe even in his qualifying run, even though he qualified 10th. But up here at a test about 3 weeks ago, that car was the class of the field the entire 2 days, the 11 car.
Mike Ford has worked with a lot of the older drivers. Bill Elliott for one.
Old school again.
Old school.
Denny Hamlin from Chesterfield, Virginia, driving the number 11 FedEx Chevy.
NASCAR Nextel Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by UPS, official delivery company of NASCAR.
UPS delivers the chance to manage your own free fantasy auto racing league at foxsports.com. Denny Hamlin and Greg Biffle separated by 1 second. Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer. But a lot of the action a little further back. Look at the right side there of Jeremy Mayfield's car. It's gotten all spun up a couple of times here. And 2 drivers making their way through the field. David Stremme and Mike Bliss, both in Dodges.
Watched that 40 car in practice yesterday. Matter of fact, I mentioned how good his car looked the final practice out here yesterday.
And he started back in the 33rd position. He was involved in that caution back on lap 43. They elected to stay out, though. He got the track position, and they have capitalized from that.
Stremme trying to take 9th away from Jamie McMurray. He passed Carl Edwards a bit ago, and Mike Bliss 1 more spot behind in the 49, the former champ of the Craftsman Truck Series. Krista?
An impressive run indeed for Mike Bliss. Last week in Atlanta, that was his first start of the year. He stayed on the lead lap all day before going a lap down and finishing 21st. They have been one of the most consistent cars on consistent pit stops, not making adjustments. He has been happy with the car, saying it is good all day long. Right now, he is out there holding up the likes of Jeff Burton, passing the likes of Jimmie Johnson. Mike Bliss, very impressive.
And Krista, Mike finished 10th yesterday in the Busch Series race. And talk about this car tomorrow, a toll it's taken on the lower funded budgeted teams. The 49 team's backup car didn't even get here to the middle of the afternoon Friday.
Wow. Ken Schrader had some impressive runs here at Bristol while driving for BAM Racing. David Stremme has gone to 9th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has passed Matt Kenseth for 8th.
You know, Jamie McMurray.
It sounds trite, Darrell, but it's true. They're racing all around the track today.
Yeah. I noticed Jamie McMurray, Larry, you know, he complained about his cool box had stopped working, and he is kind of spaded back a little bit to 10th now.
6th place Jeff Gordon lapping Montoya, who is 4 laps down.
And I just believe right now Jeff Gordon's benefiting from 2 things. We were talking about all the adjustments they made, but again, he has about 20 to 25 lap fresher tires than most of the people he's racing right now.
And I think, Larry, I think you noticed the shade. I think Maddie called us there a little bit ago and was talking about the shaded area turns the back straightaway and turns 1 and 2. Pretty soon the whole back straightaway and into 3 is going to be shaded. And I can tell you from yesterday, that makes a huge difference.
It just gives it more grip. It's not near as slick because the track temperature comes down. There you can see it shaded from here to here.
And it's getting, as the sun goes down, that's going to improve.
We're down to about 150 laps to go. We've got 16 cars on the lead lap. Brian Vickers in the 83 car, the only Toyota still on the lead lap.
Next Sunday, NASCAR's shortest track, Martinsville Speedway in Virginia, south of Roanoke, north of Greensboro, in the foothills of the Blue Ridge, the slam-bangingest racetrack in America.
With that 48 car, Larry, he is in trouble.
Well, he's in trouble in two ways. He's going backwards, and he's only about 2 seconds from being lapped by Denny Hamlin in the 11 car. You can see the leader right there, just 2 or 3 cars behind him.
And that's all because they stayed out with, what, 20-some, maybe just 20 laps on his tires. What a huge difference that makes.
Dick?
With Greg Zipadelli, what broke on your race car?
The Home Depot Impala was running great today. We had a fuel pump problem. Lost fuel pressure. We had to change a cable. So pretty disappointing. This group of guys that worked real hard. We didn't have a really good test there. Proud of everybody that kept the chins up and came back here, Doug. We brought back a really good race car, and once again, we don't have anything to show for it, but we'll go to Martinsville next week and probably have a shot.
Thanks. We'll see you there.
Well, and that tells me exactly what Jeff and I were talking about. Dick had already made note the cable did not actually break. So that hex that Jeff Hammond showed where it goes in the oil pump, evidently it came out just a little bit, rounded itself off, and not pump fuel anymore.
Stewart's teammate Denny Hamlin in command for Joe Gibbs Racing as he laps past Regan Smith. He has a 1-second lead with 143 laps to go. DLP brings you this amazing moment from Bristol. Cold temperatures, hot tempers on the last lap. Matt Kenseth came over to explain. Palms outstretched. Jeff Gordon would have none of it. Tempers flare. DLP from Texas Instruments. It's the mirrors.
I've always said about Bristol, brings out the best in you, brings out the worst in you.
Here's our Nextel Cup champ, Jimmie Johnson, about to go a lap down to the FedEx 11. And Hamlin goes by.
Now, those guys are actually on equal tires, the 11 and the 48. Both of those elected to stay out, but Denny Hamlin was up near the front, and we have a caution on the racetrack. So guess who the free pass will be? I believe you're looking at her there.
You know, if we can find the debris, we show the debris. This one's pretty easy to find. It's a bumper brace, a bumper reinforcement bar down on the track apron. There it is.
So that's going to keep about 15 cars on the lead lap with Jimmie Johnson, the 48, getting a free pass. We'll have about 125 laps to go. I'm sure a lot of people, they were getting anxious to see this caution right here.
Johnson confirmed as the driver who will get the free pass. He had just been overlapped by Denny Hamlin. Pit road's open. 10th caution flag of the day.
We'll see everybody to pit road 4 tires, and you know what? This is getting that point of the race where you know you better be getting those adjustments right now. You might not get many opportunities, Matt, to make those adjustments.
And Larry Mack, one adjustment that Clint Boyer made from inside the race car, he dialed a little rear brake back into it, takes a water bottle. The car still too tight, trying to get it freed up. An air pressure change is the call for Gil Martin and the 017. Krista?
This is a big run for David Stremme in the number 40. Why? Because he has never scored a career top 10. He is currently running 8th. His car is loose. He said, guys, I am saving my best stuff for the last 50 laps. Steve Burns.
Well, Krista, Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick will pit back-to-back nose to tail. Kyle Busch saying, I'm spinning out on the entry of turn 1 and 2. Kevin Harvick says, I need forward bite. I'm a touch tight. Dick.
Denny Hamlin, who was leading before that caution flag, said the car is a little tight when he puts 4 fresh tires on it, but then it comes to him. So crew chief Mike Ford has made the decision of absolutely no changes to that car for the 2nd pit stop in a row.
Thanks, folks. 10th caution flag of the day. We still have 130 laps left to go, and they leave pit road pretty much the same way they came in.
NASCAR Nextel Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Chevy, the most wins in NASCAR history. An American Revolution.
Getting set for the restart. It's big, it's bad, it's victory red. Go to foxsports.com/Silverado for a chance to meet Dale Jr. and drive away in his all-new 07 Chevy Silverado. It'll be 126 laps to go. Denny Hamlin, Greg Biffle, Kyle Busch, then Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer, Dale Jr., Jeff Gordon, David Stremme, Jamie McMurray, and Jeff Burton, the top 10. 15 cars on the lead lap. Here we go.
Well, this is when you hope your driver buddy was holding a little something back now. Show me what you got, buddy. This is it.
And this is where it's so aggravating for cars like Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon, David Stremme running back there about 6th or 7th, having to wrestle these cars that are a lap down, one or more laps down on the inside line.
Second place, Kyle might have got a little into the back of Biffle to make himself a little room, and there he goes.
Yeah, he cut it right to the bottom, and he was able to drive right on by. Biffle's car looks a little bit jukey off of turn 2 over there.
But what I've seen with Greg Biffle's car about the last 200 laps, Darrell, is he's not that good on the short run, but it comes to life on the long run.
Oh, trouble. Here we go. Around the 40 car.
Mike Bliss, Robbie Gordon, Bobby Labonte spin.
They're all bunched up.
Just came across the 8-8 hoping he'd pull his foot.
I think that caution will be good news possibly for Brian Vickers, an 83 car. We'll let you know. I think he's going to get the free pass. He'll get back on the lead lap.
A little damage there on Ricky Rudd's car from contact. Under caution once again.
NASCAR Nextel Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Singular, now the new AT&T. By Enterprise Rent-A-Car, we'll pick you up. By DLP, HDTV powered by DLP. It's amazing. It's the mirrors. And by the new KFC Variety Big Box. Why pick one favorite when you can have them all?
Here's our final AT&T Singular Virtual Crew Chief question of the day. Sorry, dial tone. We're getting ready to go to green, and that's on our fault, not Singular's. As Denny Hamlin leads them across, Kyle Busch in second, Greg Biffle, Kevin Harvick up to 4th, and Clint Boyer.
One thing Darrell and I observed when Denny Hamlin and the group took the green flag, Jimmie Johnson had just left pit road. Again, he was the car that got the free pass. He was going to have to start at the tail of the longest line, but it was cutting it pretty close.
Got that right. He's at the tail end of the longest line now for sure.
Kyle Busch, this 5 car, he wants this lead from Denny Hamlin, that 11 car.
Well, he's packing her down in there. I tell you that. He's not being bashful. Watch him drive off into turn 3 here now. Watch him close that gap right there. Just getting in there so hard, using a lot of brake. But it's really hurting him getting through the center and getting off. He's upsetting the car a lot.
Well, we know how good Denny Hamlin's car is on long runs. So is Kyle Busch's best chance to pass him while he's on fresh tires?
I think that's if he's going to get him, he's going to have to stay in touch with him right there and hope that 11 car bobbles just a little bit. But right now, that 11 car's hugging the bottom, and it's not doing a lot of bobbling.
If I was on the radio to Kyle, I'd be saying, slow down. You're driving in too hard. Back off a little bit earlier, and you'll catch him.
Harvick is right on Greg Biffle's tail. This is for 3rd place, Steve.
Hey, Mike, getting back to what DW said. Kyle Busch said during the pit stop, I'll try harder. Alan Gustafson, the crew chief, said, no, you're doing a great job the way you are. In fact, as you said, trying to slow him down a little bit.
I think that's good advice right now. I just see him driving down in the corner too hard, and that allowed Hamlin to get away. Now he's slowing down, got a much smoother entry, and he's closing back up.
It's like he was testing the waters right after that restart.
In case we forgot to mention, Brian Vickers got the free pass, putting his Toyota back on the lead lap. As of this restart, he has passed Jimmie Johnson. He's up to 15. 16 lead lap cars. All right, let's see if we get Singular AT&T back on the line for your final question today. Should Bristol change this track to a progressive banking? That's their intent. Or should they just leave it at 36 degrees top to bottom? Text the message crew to 191 from your AT&T or Singular wireless phone. Or go to foxsports.com and cast your vote.
Mike, you ever seen a race at Irvindale?
Oh, lots of
California. That's about the best progressive banking racetrack I know of, and they have incredible racing there.
Oh, they'll run 3 and 4 wide all the way around. Top, bottom makes no difference.
That's the only track I ever saw that there is no preferred line. Just pick one.
We got a little bit of a battle shaping up here between Dale Earnhardt Jr. We're riding with him here. He's back in the 6th spot, looking out at Clint Boyer in the 07 in the 5th spot right now. Okay, the car out in front of these guys right now, that's the guy that just keeps getting better and better. We've talked about him as he's made his way to the front. Kevin Harvick in that 29 car up to 3rd position. And right now, he is about a 10th or 2 faster than leaders. In fact, he's going to take 2nd place away from Kyle Busch in that 5.
Did Kyle bobble there into Darrell, or maybe just look up in his mirror?
No, I think he's driven the goodie out of his tires in a hurry, and I think he's going to pay the price for that. Instead of pacing himself and stringing them out a little bit, I think he just all up trying to hang with the 11 car, and he just couldn't do it.
And you know, guys, as we're getting down to 100 laps to go, as we see Jeff Gordon go by Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 car, that's a battle for 6, no longer battle. You got to believe, even though I think it was downplayed, Darrell, you'll relate to this, every driver out there wants to have the claim, I won the first race with the car tomorrow.
Oh, I definitely would. And I'll tell you, the guy I drove for that was always wanting to be the first, that was Jimmie Johnson, and he always would go to be the first for whatever.
And I think when we came here in August of '92, all the drivers were thinking, I want to be the first driver to win on concrete. Let's see, who did that?
Just barely.
A man named DW.
I looked in the mirror and I saw Earnhardt and I took off.
Kyle Busch has now dropped back to 3rd. Steve, what are they saying?
Well, it's actually what Kyle Busch said, Mike. He just told Alan Gustafson, I'm an idiot. and Alan Gustafson said, it's okay, get your rhythm back, everything's all right.
And that's exactly what Alan Gustafson needed to tell him right there.
Happy Harvick is about to be happier. Well, he's closed right up on the race leader, Denny Hamlin, trying for his 2nd win of the season.
Like I said, I hope my driver buddy's been holding a little something back. I believe that 29 car may have been.
Wait a minute. You used to just call him rookie. Now he's won the Daytona 500. Now he's your driver buddy?
Well, you know, he's a good guy, but he's always going to be a rookie.
I'm kidding you.
100 to go.
He calls me
1-0-0.
He calls me old timer. So what am I supposed to do? I got to retaliate. So he doesn't like to be called rookie.
There you see the telemetry right there, the miles per hour, how much the RPM falls down in the corner. You can hear him playing with the throttle all the way off the corner. 100% throttle, very little on the brake. Darrell, he has needed a friend, though, ever since he won the Daytona 500, because since then, his best finish has been 17th.
Traffic time, and I don't mean leaving the speedway after the race, as they do a good job with that. How good a job can Denny Hamlin do working this heavy traffic, and can he keep Kevin Harvick back there?
I've been ever since last year with Denny Hamlin. Nothing surprises me. He's driving his car like, hey, I'm just going to keep you back there. That's all I need to do right now. My tires are, I don't want to wear my stuff out trying to hold you off.
You know, Mike, we talked at the top of the show about the unknowns of this car tomorrow, and you saw the run Kevin Harvick got right there off turn 2. But it's almost like the bigger unknowns to Denny Hamlin, the better he prevails. Won the 2 Pocono races last year. Won the Mexico City Busch race last year on the road course.
It's like he didn't know what he couldn't do, so he just did it. If that makes any sense.
Exactly, and I believe that's the way it is with Denny Hamlin in this 11 car.
Yeah, what you don't know, you don't know, and what I would know is that yellow car behind me will bump into you.
Now, we do need to make note, with all the leaders pitting on lap 369 on that last caution, should we stay green, Harvick's going to take advantage. Hamlin washed up the racetrack. Harvick will take the lead side by side down the back stretch. He'll win the battle into turn 1. But we can make it to the end should we stay green.
That's very optimistic.
You just never know. It is Bristol.
93 laps to go in Thunder Valley. You're watching NASCAR on Fox. Caution is out. Debris in turn 4. Sterling Marlin hit it, scattered it all over the place. The yellow wave, and pit road is open. Matt?
86 laps to go for the 07. Now he says he needs his car to be better at the front end of the run. He says the car is really stout near the end. It's as free as he needs it then. So they're going to make a small air pressure change.
No adjustments for the number 40 of David Stremme. He had to communicate that by raising his hand out the window. They have lost radio communication. David can hear them. They cannot hear David. No adjustments for the 40. Steve.
Krista, Kevin Harvick on pit road in the number 29. He said, I still need a little more forward bite. Meanwhile, the 5 on pit road, he said he's loose in and loose off. Dick.
Denny Hamlin on pit road. The car is a little bit loose going into the corner. They have put just a little tiny bit of extra static weight in the left rear of the car. We're going to see if he beats the 29 out.
He does.
It was close, but he did win the battle off pit road.
Jeff Green gets the free pass.
And there you see just slight changes on the race off pit road.
Biffle keeps having
few teams lost.
Biffle keeps having a little bit of trouble. He lost a spot there. Gordon picked that up.
Denny Hamlin's crew gets a great stop, but Jeff Gordon keeps coming closer to the front, one spot at a time.
Yes, while the children are playing, Big Daddy is coming to the front. Sounds like a story from Bristol, doesn't it?
Yeah. Chris and Jeff will tell us one.
And well, let's first take a look, Mike, at the Q Motor Oil race summary as we come down the home stretch. 9 different leaders, 11 lead changes. We've had a dozen cautions, still 40 cars running, which in this survival of the quickest is often not the case. Kevin Harvick currently leading as we went into this caution. The complexion of this race changed dramatically just past the halfway point. Elliott Sadler was running second, had a loose wheel, had to come into the pits, went down a couple of laps. Casey Kahne was second, then dropped to ninth, had a flat tire. Tony Stewart, who dominated, leading 257 laps, loses fuel pressure, has a fuel pump cable problem, forced to pit. That knocked him out of the lead. And that opened the door for Denny Hamlin and then Kevin Harvick. Harvick, who, by the way, started 40th today and has worked his way towards the front. Jeff Hammond, remember, began 34th at Daytona, which was his worst starting point ever, and won the Daytona 500.
Yeah, but you got to realize something else. He has a win here at Bristol 2 years ago, but more importantly, I think, is the fact that Richard Childress Racing has 8 wins, 7 with the late Dale Earnhardt Sr. So, I mean, they know something about winning here at Bristol, and I think it's starting to show with this 29 car.
Denny Hamlin in the 11 car, ironically, 24 years ago to the day, Cale Yarborough in the 11 car led all 500 laps here at Bristol. I know Darrell knows something about the 11 car with Junior Johnson, had a lot of success. So if you're into numbers here, Denny Hamlin, a guy worth watching, and has the work of the teammate from his earlier problems and success in Tony Stewart.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to come from Tony Stewart, the setup as far as that's concerned. But it's got to be a little bit of concern whether or not they're going to have the same type of an issue as far as fuel pump's concerned. But DW, when it comes to that number 11, she definitely knows how to get around this old Bristol Speedway.
Oh, she does, definitely, Jeff. But the team that I am fascinated with today is that 24 team. Larry, Mike, we stood here and watched that car almost get lapped 3 or 4 times.
Jumped.
He couldn't drive it. Complaining, here he is running 4th.
Yeah, I look at Denny Hamlin, of course. He won the battle off pit road. Jeff Gordon, yeah, what a turnaround. But don't take your eye off that man back there in 2nd right now, Kevin Harvick. After winning the Daytona 500, those guys want to get back on track. Remember, he started this race in 40th. He's definitely had a dogfight to get to the front.
But I want to see if Kyle Busch learned anything on that last green flag run and what he might have for them in that 5 car. Dick Bergman?
Well, Mike Ford, crew chief for Denny Hamlin, knew that they didn't need any fuel at all, Mike, and so that was part of their really quick pit stop. All they did was fire 4 at that car and make that tiny chassis adjustment. That was it. They cracked off a good one. That's how come the 11 car is leading.
And what's great about that, you can have 7 men over the wall. Now, one of those guys has to be the catch can man, but if you don't use fuel, that means you can use that gas man to make adjustments or do whatever.
And a lighter car with 4 fresh tires should be pretty fast.
I would say so. Lighter car means back up in the rear.
Yeah.
The rear's up in the air.
Yeah, good strategy.
Kevin Harvick in 2nd place. His last 4 runs in the spring Bristol race produced finishes of 7th, 3rd, 1st, and 2nd.
He likes Bristol. Might even be his favorite track.
80 laps to go. Restart.
Whoa, man. I don't know if Hamlin didn't go or Harvick's in a hurry, but gave him a shove there on that restart.
Well, good news for Kyle Busch and almost good news for Jeff Gordon. He's not going to quite clear Dave Blaney in the 22 car. The inside line snacked up. That let Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, and Denny Hamlin get away from Gordon.
Caution down. Debris on the front straightaway.
I believe that could have come from some contact there between the 11 and the 29. He was hitting him pretty hard on that restart.
Front stretch debris puts us under caution. I believe Ward Burton will get one of his 2 laps back in the Abingdon, Virginia based Morgan McClure Chevrolet.
Today's Race on Fox is sponsored by DirecTV. Just say ride shotgun on race day with NASCAR Hot Pass only on DirecTV. By Q, the heat-activated oil that helps maximize the power of your engine. Unleash all your horses. By Budweiser, the official beer of NASCAR. This is Budweiser. This is beer. And by Subway Restaurants. Subway. Eat fresh.
They just waved the green flag for this restart. Denny Hamlin leading Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch. Harvick and Busch between them had the most top 5s in last year's 6 short track races, 5 apiece.
And right now, Kyle Busch in the 5 car, we're looking back at him in 3rd place. He has a car between him and his teammate Jeff Gordon in the 24. We have Dave Blaney in the 22, who's 3 laps down.
Yeah, but you know, Blaney's running pretty good. He's driving off and leaving Jeff and kind of closing up on the back of Kyle Busch there. So Blaney's car's running all right. He's not holding anybody up. He's not in anybody's way.
72 laps to go in this year's running of the Food City 500. 2nd place changes hands. Kyle Busch up to 2nd.
While these boys are going at it, that 11 car is just driving away, almost built up to a 2nd lead in just about 4 laps. You know, a car we didn't talk about a while ago sitting back there in 5th place, Greg Biffle in that 16 car. Right now he's all over the rear bumper of Jeff Gordon in that 24 car. Talked about his car earlier. Seems to be real good on long runs, maybe not so much right after a restart.
I think the 24 is the same way, Larry. He was pretty good. He was catching those guys late in the run there a while ago.
How about Jeff Gordon, Dick?
Well, I'll tell you what, those guys do not give up. They have been as low as 27th and have had a car that from time to time has been an absolute brick on the racetrack, simply not fast. But they have pitted time after time after time. Car still isn't right. It's tight in some parts of the racetrack and loose in others. But Gordon's driving his heart out, and the crew is doing its best. And look at this. He's in 5th spot.
And guys, I got to believe this group is also looking at the big picture because he comes in here 2nd to points. Mark Martin is not here in the 01 car. A good top 5 finish with that 24 car. He'll leave here the points leader.
I'm sure he's thought about that himself, Larry.
There's how the points would be with the positions the way they are right now.
Had an interesting conversation with Steve Letarte, his crew chief. I didn't realize how long Steve had been at Hendrick Motorsports. He'd been there a long time, ever since he was a kid, actually.
Started off cutting Ray Evernham's grass.
Yeah, he worked there with Ray, and he's been there a long time, and he's really a funny guy.
Here's the race for 7th. Right there, Stremme on the outside of Jeff Burton. David Stremme on track in the number 40 for his best career finish. He has been 11th 3 times, as now he is in 7th place. Carl Edwards is the 2nd Ford in the race. Greg Biffle is up in 4th place. Carl Edwards is in 10th after winning the Busch race here yesterday, the Sharpie Mini 300, and getting to do one of his patented backflips. That has become a trademark Ford Bold move.
Now, did his motor coach driver get to mow his grass?
No, it only counts on Cup wins.
Oh,
he told Carl,
man.
I'm not counting Busch Series wins. What we're talking about. Carl Edwards, coach driver. Carl has not won since the end of 2005. His coach driver said, look, I'm not going to shave till you win another race. And like Darrell said, we're just about to have to get to a weed whacker to get him clean shaven.
He looks terrible out there on the in the coach lot.
Dale Jr. running in 8th place. We've talked a lot about sun and shade here. You know that Junior hosts a show called back in the day that airs on the Fox-owned Speed Channel. And maybe he was doing a little homework when he talked to spotter Steve Meal here.
What was it like here when they didn't have the grandstands? The drivers get blinded, come around 1 and 2. Feel like the sun coming down, Steve, they get blinded.
The sun would get over there real bad.
That's what I figured.
And there used to be no grandstands down there in turn 1 and 2 or turn 3 and 4.
But Larry, like you said, we never started to race this late either.
No, we would start normally about 12 or 12:30. We're hearing Juan Pablo Montoya is having to come to pit road, has a flat tire on that 42 car.
Matt Kenseth has had an up and down day. His Harvey's Ford currently is 12th. Krista?
Matt Kenseth had been complaining about a loose car most of the day. Right now, he said it's like running on a three-legged table. It feels like the left front is not even on the track. And actually, the reason for that may have been a few runs ago when he felt like they may have broke something in the left front when they had to come down on the apron. But yeah, the way he described it, a three-legged table. Hey guys, once I went and looked at a three-legged dog, but not a three-legged table.
What was his name, Krista? Arithmetic?
Lucky.
Thinking the same thing.
Thought maybe he was putting down 3 and carrying 1.
Clint Boyer, Dale Jr., 8th place.
You know, you see a lot of flame coming out the exhaust pipes on the right side of these cars. Of course, that's when they're kind of part throttling. It's raw fuel burning. But if you'll notice, every bit of it is in front of the right rear tire. That was another small rule change that went along with the car tomorrow. Every exhaust system, basically the same. Every exhaust system has to exit out the right rear in front of the right rear tire. That keeps it away from where the gas man is dumping that fuel in the left rear quarter panel.
Plus, I think it's in a much better area too for the driver. It doesn't run out under your feet and burn you up like it used to.
How about Kasey Kahne, who crashed earlier, and now he is up to 23rd place. Where he's running right now, he would leave here 34th in owner points, and he would get a qualifying exemption at Martinsville. Johnny Sauter, who did not make this race, would be 35th. And drivers who would have to qualify on time next week would include Blaney, Jarrett, Vickers, Riggs, and Schrader.
Now there's the car that came in here, the points leader Regan Smith with this 01 car. Right now Regan is running back in the 24th position, 3 laps down. Big question, how does this car having 2 drivers affect the chase for the Nextel Cup? I talked to Robin Pemberton earlier in the week. He said, Larry, we have the top 12 drivers that will go for the Nextel Cup. We'll have the top 12 owners that will go for the Owners Championship.
So in owner points, this car would fall from 1st to about 4th or 5th right now, based on where Regan Smith is running.
And all that matters at the end of race 26, whether it's a driver or owner, is top 12.
And Regan is doing a pretty good job, actually.
Holding his own, Darrell, 3 laps back. But he's running 17 flats, the same as the race leader, so right on pace.
I bet these guys didn't think they'd be running 17 flat today. That's about, what, Larry, half to maybe almost a second slower than what we would see in the race here.
And we talked about at the top of the show, qualifying, actually the average speed of this field of 43 cars a little quicker than the qualifying here in August. A year ago, the qualifying was snowed out. But speaking of our leader, Denny Hamlin, right now with 48 laps to go, he's getting into some very heavy traffic. Kyle Busch in that 5 car trying to take advantage of it back there in second.
I'll tell you one thing, Kyle Busch is relentless. He doesn't give up, and he stays in the gas.
The one question for that 5 car is, did Kyle Busch conserve enough to be able to make a run at the leader late in the race?
It looks a lot better this go round than it did the last time. I think he got a little overexcited there, a little over exuberant. When he saw the leader and had a shot at the win, he really drove the wheels off of it. This time he's paced himself much better.
45 laps to go when they come back to the start-finish line. $17 cars still on the lead lap, led by Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch. We're into the closing stages at Bristol.
All right, guys, we're here at Bristol.
Buggity, buggity, buggity. Let's go racing.
Green flag, green flag.
Still there. Clear, clear. It's all good, it's all good. Get all the battle tools out. I want them all out.
He's coming with him, man.
Keep digging, man. Nice and smooth. You're looking good.
Glad you're with us for NASCAR and Fox from Bristol. 33 laps to go. Denny Hamlin leading Kyle Busch. Busch closing in fast. Moments ago, pole sitter Jeff Gordon as far back as 27th, passing to go up to 4th. And Hamlin has led the most laps, 152 and counting, he's ever led in a race. Jeff ushering in the car of tomorrow, now the car of now for NASCAR. Observations so far through this race with about 32 laps to go.
Well, what did I tell you the word down in the garage was early this morning? Optimism. I mean, I think they were very optimistic about how this car was going to perform. So far, this whole race has been uncharacteristic for Bristol. I think we've seen a lot more give and take and a whole lot less beating and banging.
They wanted safety and competition. Only 3 cars out of the race. Mike, we've had 10 different leaders today, but Hamlin's the man right now.
Denny Hamlin leading more laps than he's ever led. That chirp means it's time for Nextel. All of the race. Nextel gets things done.
Well, I know we still have 30 laps to go, but right now I'm going to give it to Mike Ford, that 11 crew. Good pit stop, but great call. Elected not to dump fuel in that car, getting an adjustment that he needed. Mike Ford, that 11 crew, getting it done like Nextel.
Yeah, I still got to go with the 24. I can't believe what they've done with that car today. 500 laps, a lot of time to work on it.
I'm going with Joe Gibbs Racing as a whole. Those 3 cars have led 430 out of 472 laps. Stewart dominated while he led. He led the most laps today. Hamlin out in front. J.J. Yaley led. Boy, they were prepared for Bristol.
I think Jeff Gordon's driving one of those I need to win my 5th championship races today, because they have done a good job.
An attaboy for David Stremme, top Dodge in the race. In 7th, Dodge has qualified well. Stremme's the one to seal the deal, and Dodge, like Chevy, has a new body style here. It's the Avenger, their new midsize car that is being carried by the Nextel Cup drivers in the car of tomorrow platform. That's a Dodge Avenger.
Yeah, they will still carry the Charger name with the current car, just like Chevrolet will still carry the Monte Carlo SS. Ford Fusion, as well as the new Toyota Camry, elected to keep the same name in the car tomorrow. Now Denny Hamlin 11 car starting to stretch it out a little bit on Kyle Busch in the 5 car with 25 laps to go. But right now, we talked about it earlier, we have that conveyor belt of cars all the way around this half-mile racetrack.
Kyle Busch staying just close enough to Hamlin, keep pressure on him. He can't make a mistake. He can't linger too long behind anybody.
But you know how this place races. Look at those 160,000 seats. See an empty one? I don't.
And it won't be long. You'll see a bunch of empty seats, because they'll all be standing up as this race winds down.
I got to believe as long as Kyle Busch can stay this close to Denny Hamlin, he might have a little something for him. He seems to be able to close up even without traffic. And just like before, back here the 24 and the 31 this time seem to be getting better as they get near the end of this run.
Jeff Burton had caught Jeff Gordon. They had to work their way past Mike Bliss. And I thought Burton had a little something for the 24. And 55% of you say leave it alone. Don't progressively bank Bristol. We like it the way it is. But they think they can put out a new surface and improve the quality of the racing. And that will happen right after this race.
That was actually closer than I thought it would be. 55-45. I thought it'd be more like 70-30 maybe.
Carl Edwards, Jimmie Johnson, 10th place battle with 20 to go. 10th and 11th of 15 cars on the lead lap.
You know, the 5 car gets into the car much better than the 11, which tells me he's rolling out a little early. But man, when 11 picks up the throttle there, he's got that forward bite that everybody would like to have. He shoots up off the corner.
We're here with 18 laps to go. Just to update maybe some viewers that are just joining us, Mike talked about how many laps that Joe Gibbs Racing had led here today. Tony Stewart led 257 on lap 290, came to pit road with no fuel pressure. He's sitting out there now just logging laps, 29 laps down.
Watch the 5 car close up into the corner, right, going in, but then he loses all that ground coming off, and that's perfect. And we got the 48 car with a flat right front, looks like.
No caution yet.
He can get down to the bottom of the racetrack and get to pit road if he can hold the bottom of the track and everyone fight their way by.
Now the 48's pitting on the backstretch. And of course, what he's hoping for is to get a caution, and Kyle Busch just took advantage of it, took the lead away from Denny Hamlin. Caution is out now.
Well, that changes everything.
Got a feeling they'll be discussing this.
Well, Kyle Busch had completed the pass well enough prior to the caution that the loop data will likely show him as the leader. We'll double check.
That's coming off a 2 down the back and look like a...
Now, let me explain why Tony Stewart is so slow. Darrell, we talked about this earlier. He didn't want to become part of Jimmie Johnson's problem. He's just out there logging laps, but he's running so slow and out of the way. Why?
Well, he doesn't want to tear that car up. He wants to use it next week, and there you see Jimmie's car just goes up the hill. I'm assuming he had a right front go down.
It had all the look of it. Car just would not turn, just went straight to the outside wall.
Yeah, he wants to save that nice piece for next weekend.
That was the fastest here.
Martinsville.
Now here's what's going to be interesting, boys. It's been 70 laps since these cars have been to pit road. We've got 14 cars on the lead lap. I think we'll see some of the guys at the back of the pack hit pit road, like Jeff Gordon, Jeff Burton right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I'm leading the race, I'm going to do the opposite of what everybody else does.
And Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Greg Biffle, they stay out. Looks like all the other lead lap cars come to pit road, and we may get to a point where this will be a single file restart if we get to 10 or less laps to go. So yeah, coming to pit road right now could be a race winning move, Darrell. No more cars than stayed out of those lead lap cars.
And scoring confirms Kyle Busch is the race leader. He had completed the pass on Denny Hamlin prior to the waving of the caution. And when that caution light comes on, they revert back to the last scoring loop around the track that the drivers had previously crossed. It's not the instant of caution, it's where you last passed a scoring loop just prior to the caution.
Yeah, what I was saying about pitting Mike, if the 5 and the 11 had come in, I definitely would have stayed out. If they stay out, I stay out.
Right now, it looks like, and we're going to have to look at score when they come back across here, but it looks like at least about 10 cars of our lead lap cars came to pit road.
Well, earlier we said we'd rather have tires than track position. What about now?
I'd rather have laps right now. If I come in and got tires, if I didn't, I'd want to run down here at about 7 or 8 to go and get a green.
Dick?
When Denny Hamlin was told he was in second place, Mike, he said no way. Then it was the question of whether they were going to pit or not. Mike Ford made the decision that they were going to follow Busch, the lead car, and Hamlin was then told all the guys behind him had pitted. He said, we're dead. Ford said, don't give up. Steve.
Dick, Kevin Harvick said, we've just been way too tight. Todd Berrier said, if we don't pit, we'll finish 10th. This is our only shot. They took 4 tires and made an air pressure adjustment for Kevin Harvick.
Well, this is so reminiscent of back, what year was it? 2000 with Dale and Terry? Dale stayed out, didn't get tires. Terry come in and got 4. What a finish that was.
That was pretty wild. We have audio from Denny Hamlin.
We pit or not? Yes or no? Follow the 5. Follow the 5. Stay out. Stay out.
That's the box you're in when you're the leader.
Well, here is going to be the deal. We're going to have a single file restart because it looks like we will be. They are showing down finger restart right now, which means it'll be single file, no lap down cars to the inside. The top 5 cars stayed out. They've been out there since lap 415 on their tires. Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Greg Biffle, David Stremme, Carl Edwards. The other 10 cars pitted for 4 tires and adjustments, starting with Jeff Gordon back there in the 24 car, our pole sitter.
Short track racing at its best and more of the same next week.
Hey man, Martinsville Speedway, got to save the brakes, feet banging, the way racing ought to be.
Oh! A little bad blood there.
Yeah, that's not going to be good.
Once they drop that green flag, you don't know what's going to happen.
Oh, no. Inside. No. Room. What I've always liked about this place, there was an atmosphere here that was like no other place we'd go.
Jeff Gordon scores his 71st career win and his 6th at Martinsville.
You can feel the emotion of the fans in the stands here.
Big Orange, Tony Stewart gets the win.
Doing a little thing called NASCAR on Fox.
Big weekend at Martinsville across the Fox networks. All on speed Friday. Nextel Cup practice, truck practice, and Cup qualifying. On Saturday, Cup practice and the Craftsman Truck Series race is on Fox, 3 p.m. Eastern Time Saturday. Then speed coverage brackets, the Nextel Cup race on Fox next Sunday, 1:30 Eastern Time.
You know what this has written all over it, Larry? Daytona with the 24 car. When he come down and got 4 tires.
And there he goes, Darrell. He did it earlier on fresh tires. Him and Jeff Burton in the 31 to the high side. They're going to go all the way up to 4th right now before he complete 1 lap.
Yeah,
8
I think
laps to go this time.
I think that's going to work out for those guys.
Biffle put the block on Jeff Gordon. Denny Hamlin's in trouble, it looks like, an 11 car. But while this is going on, Kyle Busch has drove away from this group.
I don't think he can drive far enough away, though. I tell you, the 24 and the 6 and the 31 are coming, baby. Here comes the 31 looking outside.
Dick, what's wrong with Hamlin?
Hamlin just came on the radio and screamed, "We're blowing up, we're blowing up."
He continues to lose position, this time coming to 6 laps to go. Greg Biffle still back there on the same tires as Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch still driving away.
It's going to be a nail-biter, boys.
Hamlin led 177 laps. He won't win it. Here comes Burton on the outside of Gordon.
5 to go, clear by 10 here, 5 to go.
I think Burton's got a little something for the 24 car. If he can just get a little opening here somewhere. And here comes his teammate, Harvick, right behind him. He's looking.
Greg Biffle is the best friend that Kyle Busch has got right now. They'll be coming to 4 to go this time.
I believe the 05 car is going to be able to hang, Larry.
It looks like it right now because he's pretty much keeping tempo with those boys behind him.
Nothing like being at Bristol.
Now here comes Gordon in the 24. He's going to get inside. Biffle in the 16. Burton's got to try to follow him through. He gets a good run down into turn 3. 3 to go this time.
He's going to catch him. I say he may catch him.
3 more, 3.
Cheer him on, boys.
Spin, turn 4. Casey Kahne gets into David Regan. Yellow flag.
That will nail the coffin on Kyle Busch.
He's done. He's done.
That is not what that 5 car wanted to see.
Nope.
At all.
This answers my question on why nobody left. It's not over.
Oh, and by the way, none of them are sitting down either.
Caution flag 15. David Regan spins off the front bumper of Casey Kahne.
At 24 is just a perfect example of persistence. Hang in there. Don't give up. Keep working. Here you are, boys. Got a shot.
The caution comes out with 2 to go.
Hey.
And we will go to overtime. Heard from some folks who thought maybe overtime isn't the appropriate rule because this event isn't timed. Overlaps doesn't sound quite right. So we've got to come up with a name that properly describes the green-white checker finish at the end of the race.
How about at Bristol, just a good old shootout?
I think it's extra rounds myself.
How about at Bristol, checkers or wreckers?
And you know what Kyle Busch hopes at the drop of the green flag? He hopes wreckers behind him because, remember, you only get 1 shot at making this right.
I'll tell you a guy that's sitting there poised. If he could get a little run on Jeff Gordon, is that 31 car. I mean, he was working on Jeff pretty hard.
He was better than Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon was protecting the bottom, and Burton didn't have enough to go around the outside.
Burton was being nice to him.
I'll tell you, Kyle Busch is my hero today, even if he doesn't win this race. Remember midpoint of the race, he called his crew chief. He says, "I'm an idiot." But he learned from that. He took care of his car. He had something to get the lead and did. And he's in a position to win it if he can hold on. But I'll tell you, he has really had a great race today.
There hadn't been a race that we've had this year, Busch or Cup, that he hadn't had a shot at winning. It's incredible how fast that car's been.
We'll use Fox 3D to show what happened to David Regan between turns 3 and 4. There's Regan in the 6.
Ooh.
Bump from Casey Kahne.
But there's no question that 6 car has been a pretty ill-handled driving car for David Regan today. And of course, all it takes is Kahne getting the throttle, a 6 not getting the throttle, and there you have the results. We had a couple of our lead lap cars that elected to come to pit road, get fresh tires. It didn't stop the last time. Carl Edwards in the 99, Strimmy in the 40, single file restart, lead lap cars only to the front of this restart.
You know, I'm not sure the 9 and the 6 probably were racing for a position.
Kyle Busch is trying to win his 4th Nextel Cup race. He's 21 years old. Jeff Gordon has won as many championships as Kyle Busch has won races. In Gordon's case, is it time for big picture racing, or will he run his young teammate hard to get the checkered flag?
I think he'll run his teammate hard, knowing he has about 70 lap fresher tires in that 5 car. He'll race smart, but he's going to race hard.
Checkers or wreckers, they will wave the green flag. If the drivers can complete the next 2 laps, we'll see the checker. If not, if the yellow flag comes out, the race is over.
I'll tell you one thing, Kyle Busch better not open that door.
Oh no.
Because what I really think could happen here is the 5 and the 24 could get into each other and the 31 goes scooting by.
And Darrell, it was pretty clean last time. You're on this older tires, this hotter tires. You got to be careful with that low gear not to spin those tires on this restart.
Yeah, you better have them cleaned up, and I haven't seen him really clean them up that much. Let's see what happens here. Holy cow.
Green-white checker, 2 laps to go. Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon, Jeff Burton, Greg Biffle, Kevin Harvick.
He spun them.
Gordon went out to the lead. There goes Burton on the outside.
There
he gets around Gordon.
Jeff Burton.
I told you, I thought that 31 was laying there in the weeds.
Now remember, white flag this time, 1 to go. He gets a run to the inside. I'm sure Kyle Busch will put the block on him.
He better be careful down here. Uh-oh.
It's okay. Hamlin slow. No problem. Little touch.
All I can say is Kyle Busch better be glad that's
clear.
Jeff Burton behind him.
Yes, sir. A lot of give and take there. He's going to little bump and run here. They're going to drag race to the finish line.
Yes!
Kyle Busch in the 5.
I tell you, anybody else, Mr. Nice Guy was nice to the 5 car.
Spin in turn 1. Casey Mears after the checkered flag.
Darrell, you're absolutely right. Kyle Busch better be glad that 31 car was behind him, because there was a lot of give and take there.
Took good care of him.
Checkers, not wreckers. And Kyle Busch scores his 4th Nextel Cup victory, winning the Food City 500.
That 31 car, old school racing right there. Old school car, that's the way you race a leader, with respect.
Time to make the donuts.
Talked about it earlier. Kyle Busch will always have the claim. Nobody can ever take it away that he won the very first race car tomorrow.
What about that 5 car, though? You know, it's got a history here.
Congratulations, Chevy driver Kyle Busch, for capturing Chevy's record-setting 600th victory in NASCAR's Premier Series, the most by any manufacturer. Chevy in American Revolution.
I love that.
That kid deserves to win a race this year. He really, really does.
Yeah, he's been awesome every race.
But I love that he learned from overdriving the car earlier in the race, refocused, got to victory lane.
And I can't help but think that man that he was racing is the same that where he went spinning backwards across the finish line at the end of the Vegas Busch Series race a couple of weeks ago.
Jeff Burton ran him clean. Kyle Busch wins at Bristol. Here's a look at the restart. Kyle Busch may have spun the tires, but Jeff Gordon did spin the tires. Jeff Burton timed it perfectly, grabbed the gear and got up there to challenge Kyle Busch for the win.
Boy, he's being nice to him. Oh, golly.
White flag, buddy, white flag.
He could have moved him.
Oh, yeah. He gave him every opportunity, but Jeff Burton's not that kind of guy, and I'm admiring for that.
Well, we talked about Jeff Gordon, big picture racing, leaves here the points leader of this 31 car. Jeff Burton, we're looking at right there. He'll leave here second in the points, so big picture racing there.
Hey, Jeff Green finished 6th.
How about that?
I know you came up short, buddy. That was a hell of a show. Great.
Down to victory lane and Matt Yoakum.
So many different achievements today. Hendrick's 200th NASCAR win. The first car tomorrow race. And Kyle Busch ushers in this era with his first career short track win in NASCAR Nextel Cup competition. What are you going to remember most about that restart and this race today?
That, you know, without Jeff Gordon and Jeff Burton being behind me, I would never have won this race. You know, I got to thank those guys a lot. Jeff, he gave me a break getting into 1 there. And Burton could have dumped me there in 3 and 4, but, you know, I think our Vegas finish, you know, helped me out a little bit with that. I had some brownie points to use up, so sucks I used them all up in one spot right there, but I really want to thank CarQuest and Kellogg's and everybody on this whole Hendrick Motorsports team and everybody at the shop. That's 200 for us. That's 600 for Chevrolet, so glad we could do that for everybody, but I'm still not a very big fan of these things. I can't stand to drive them. They suck.
Well, the good thing is, though, you scored your first short track win. Steve?
Matt, a true sign of respect. Alan Gustafson, the crew chief for Kyle Busch, the first one to congratulate Jeff Burton, and DW said it, you were a true gentleman on the racetrack.
Well, I mean, you know, I wanted to win a race really bad, obviously, and but, you know, if you knock him out of the way, I think you didn't win. And if you can't pass him without knocking him out of the way, then do the best you can. I just, you know, he's always driven me clean, and that's try to return that.
Thank you, Jeff. Dick Berggren.
Jeff Gordon finished 3rd with a car that was terrible at many points of the race. The crew said it was you that produced this finish.
Well, no, it's always a team effort, you know, and I mean, if those guys didn't listen to me and you know, make the right adjustments, then it doesn't matter, you know, what I do out there. And I showed them what I could do with that car at the beginning, so it obviously wasn't me. You know, it's unfortunate we got that far behind. We really struggled yesterday in practice, and we fought really hard today. And we were fortunate. We stayed on the lead lap, you know, but I'm really happy for Kyle Busch. That's a great win. I'm glad he got it for Hendrick Motorsports and for Chevrolet. Great day for the DuPont Impala.
Congratulations. Mike?
A big day for Rick Hendrick's teams. I can't wait for Martinsville next week.
I think got a little work to do on this car, though. It's not bad, but there's some improvements that can be made.
Yeah, great day for Hendrick Motorsports as well as Richard Childers Racing. But how about Joe Gibbs Racing in Evernham? Looked like they may have had 5 of the best cars here, but you know what? You got to be here at the end.
Great day in Thunder Valley. Down to Chris and Jeff to close us out.
All right, guys, thanks. When push came to shove, Kyle Busch holding off a couple of classic Jeffs in Burton and Gordon. As you look at the unofficial results, Jeff, what's catching your eye here?
Well, I mean, when you take a look, it's got to be the fact that Dale Earnhardt Jr. got a top 10 finish today. I think this team really needed that, especially they've worked so hard. I think they've really struggled a lot with the car tomorrow. So they've getting a top 10 today, I think, is huge for this team.
And fitting that the car of now for NASCAR, driver of the future, 21-year-old Kyle Busch, but still said at victory lane, hey, I don't care. I still don't like the way these things
Well,
drive.
I mean, he better get used to it because next week we're going right back to Martinsville. He's got to do it one more time, but it's got to feel at least some kind of relief in his case, getting that victory in what I call the supercar.
Okay, so he's the first guy to do it in the new era, and will run 15 more races this year in the now car. Let's check the points. Remember, Mark Martin sat this out. Regan Smith in the 0-1 ride, so he falls back. Jeff Gordon is your new points leader. Jimmie Johnson, no 3 in a row for him, finishing 16th, but holding down 3rd.
Yeah, holding down 3rd, but I think the key thing right now when you look at and you back down through the pack is the fact that even like the number 9 car, Casey Kahne, got a top 20 finish here today, should move him up, I think, inside of the top 35 in the owner points, which is huge going into Martinsville next week.
Sports television losing one of its own this weekend. Fox and CBS longtime director Andy Kendall passing away after suffering a heart attack. He was a mentor to many and a contributor to his craft. His spirit will always remain. Also, our thoughts and prayers with the family of Lynn Jeffers, so Lynn passing away. Our thanks to all of you for tuning in. For Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers from the Hollywood Hotel. The car of tomorrow is the car for now. It's on to Martinsville. Thanks for being a part of NASCAR on Fox.
You
Promotional considerations provided by the following.